Hello, this is Walter Bradley. This is Heart Talk, and we're here with a special guest tonight, and I want to introduce Sophia. Say hi, Sophia.
Hi, Walter.
Hello, hello. And we're also here with Greg Fernandez, and he's got some data that he wants to start off with, and then we're going to dig into a little
This is
detail
Walter Bradley. This
after
is
the
Heart
fact.
Talk.
And
Something
we're here
very
with a special
interesting that
guest
was
tonight,
discovered
and I
on the
want to
internet.
introduce
Go ahead,
Sophia.
Greg.
Awesome. Thank you. Hope y'all can hear me good. This is a remembrance page that was created for David, his wife, and his daughter. And so I just wanted to kind of go a little bit over this as we are getting towards the 5 years. It'll be 5 years just in another couple weeks since the bodies were found. This does say the date of passing, but you'll see that. But things are kind of, it is a little bit off. But there were some nice things here that I haven't read in a long time, so I figured we just kind of go through some of these if you guys are okay with that.
Absolutely.
Have you both seen this page? You know what it is that I'm talking about here? It's on lastingmemories.com. And this was posted, this must have been posted just a few days after, I would think. Yeah.
I think I saw it 2 years ago, but I haven't looked at it recently at all.
And
I
there
haven't
is
seen that one.
Okay. There is an obituary, unlike the other case we'll be talking about tonight here too. But so this says this website was created in the memory of our loved one, David Kamel and Rania Crowley, 29, born on July 7th, 1985, passed away January 17th, 2015. We will remember him forever. So I'm wondering who created this. I don't really know how things like this get created. But the first comment looks like it was left by Dan Hennon on January 21st. And he writes, R.I.P. We will search for the truth.
That's good.
And that was January 21st, 2015. Then we have two on January 22nd, 2015. George Inabi Gertis, may your family be blessed by the Lord in this time of mourn. I think it means mourning. So it could be a foreign translation or something. From my family to yours, may God be with you all in the days to come. Prayers from the family. Patrick Rodich, dear Dan, Kate, and Carol. So that's to the parents. I don't know who Carol is. But and then it says, our thoughts are with you at this most difficult time. Mary, Pat, and Lisa Rodich. So that was before Kate Crowley passed. Maybe Carol was like David's aunt or something. I'm not sure. But C.M. Fontaine on January 23rd, 2015. Dear Crowley family, the Minji family is heartbroken over the loss of your loved ones, even though your loved ones are not physically on this earth to be with you. We hope you can find comfort in knowing that they are in heaven watching over you, and your memories will always live in your heart. This one is an interesting one. It's still on January 23rd, 2015, written for Rania. And it says, please know that Rania was loved at her school. Contrary to what some friends have said, Rania attended a school where her gifts were embraced, and her friends remember her as a bright light full of energy and perspective. We miss her bright little face. That's kind of a shot at somebody, isn't that? Contrary to what some friends have said. I'm curious what they mean by that.
Yeah, what kind of negative things could come against Rania is, in my opinion.
It's weird, right?
I don't know. Possibly like friends with that have spoken in regards to this case.
But what would they be saying that's contrary? Basically somebody is out there saying contrary to what some friends have said. Rania attended school where her gifts were embraced, and her friends remember her as a.
No, I'm seeing it says, please know that Rania was loved at her school, contrary to what some friends have said, meaning like she wasn't liked.
It's just so weird
That's
because
interesting because I haven't heard anything negative except for the whole thing about her having like a fit in October. But
yeah, what did they say? They say the kids have the this, I want to call it the syndrome or the system. There's a weird word that they call it for autistic, the spectrum, people on the spectrum.
yeah, it's a spectrum.
Okay, so I don't know.
So
Maybe they're
Carter-
talking about that. Some.
Carter is on the spectrum and he's level 3.
What does that mean? Can you explain for?
Nonverbal level 3. It's like the most extreme level.
Oh, okay.
Supposedly. And he'll be reevaluated again, but that's just what they gave him for now.
And just based on the little that that we've seen with David's daughter, do you think it's possible that she was on the spectrum at a different level, a lower level?
I don't know. I didn't see it in her. But, I mean, I also have a toddler who he's 3 and he has the capability of a 1-year-old speaking wise. So, I don't know. And that's hard to say. I just didn't see it, but it doesn't mean that she didn't. It just means that she might have been worked with really well with her parents, and they could have been giving her that guidance and everything that she needed. And she was older than Carter is.
That's interesting. That's an interesting one. I want to say hi to everybody in our live chat room. Thank you all for joining us here. Episode number 34 of Heart Talk with our host, Mr. Walter Bradley. Always great to have Walter here. And so we'll try to keep an eye on the chat room. I want to say hi to She-Wolf, to Lori, to Pansy, and everybody else who is joining us. Go ahead and comment. Please feel free to leave your comments, and we'll have Walter address anything. And so Sophia will also address anything you guys need. And we're going to be talking about 2 cases. Obviously, we're just going to go a little bit more through this David Crowley case. Sometimes when we go all the way back, as far back as we can possibly go, I think it's a really great way to kind of help us move forward. And I find myself constantly going back because somebody will say, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen that? And even if I've seen it, I'll still try to go back and like check it out, because maybe my perspective now is different. Back then everything was like a question, and now I feel like I have a little more perspective on some of these things. So going back and hearing some of these early comments has definitely helped me as a researcher. Let's go through a few more here. Hope Hernandez, January 23rd, 2015. Dearest families of the dearly past, may our Father in heaven bring you comfort in your grief. May his hand hold you tight. You are in our prayers. God bless you all. They were Christians, right? I mean, the more that I keep going back, I remember how I really wanted to not jump to the conclusion that they were Christians, but of everything that I see, to me it seems like both of them were clearly Christians.
And active, as it would seem.
Yeah. And were around many people. I know David grew up Christian. We had 2 members of one of the churches that David's parents went to. They were on one of the conference calls. And so they gave us some really good background about how Dan Sr. and Kate were, and they were really shocked by this whole thing. And I think when they were on that call, and I forget what call it was, but they had just heard of it, so they were kind of looking into it. And I wonder how many people from the Crowley family have done that too, have gone down the rabbit hole just a little bit, just kind of opened it up to see what is down there. And I think that's where some people are going to try to target them and try to get them to close down that rabbit hole very quickly.
Well, it's interesting to me because going on from this, what was discovered with what we're going to be discussing shortly ties together with a lot of things that gray states seem to be going into.
Right.
And that was what stood out for me in the interesting video and things that were discovered on the internet that y'all have. So yep. It's a bigger picture now.
Now we have two people here that did serve with David. They also posted on January 23rd, 2015. Most of the comments, or most of the things left here, are from January 2015, January 23rd. One is from I can't pronounce it, but I know it sounds Russian. So Ivalyo Dimitrov is what it sounds like. And he says that I miss you, brother. I miss you, brother, you, Kamel, and beautiful, beautiful Rania. I never give up to find who takes your life. God bless you all. I always remember every day when we were working together in Kandahar airfield. I think that guy's part of the Justice for David Crowley group too.
I believe you're correct.
Another one that served is a guy named Levi Carr. David was my first squad leader. I never met Kamel, but I know how highly he thought of her. This is a horrible tragedy. I will never forget you, brother. R.I.P. Here's a good one by Ada Miles. Kamel was my student at the university. She was an amazing woman, full of energy, driven, and enthusiastic, accomplished more with her time than most of us are able to. She was dearly loved by fellow students, faculty, and staff. We treasure our memories. Praying for the Alam and Crowley families' precious lives were lost. It's a tough thing because this is created for David, his wife, and his daughter. It's not created... I mean, it's just kind of weird the way that that we see it here is, you know, if all these people thought that David was the killer, I don't know if they would create this for him too, right? Is that a big jump to think that this was created by somebody who understands that David Crowley is not guilty and can't be proven guilty, even back in January 23rd, 2015?
Well, that stands out. Every one of these are very positive relational messages about how wonderful David and that family was. Yeah. There was no indication whatsoever. And you would expect if they would have had something that if they're going to put up something like this, that would be totally out of context with anybody that thought he would have anything to do with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would think so. So I just wanted to cover some of those. I don't know if everybody's seen this page, but if you haven't, please go and check that out. You can read some interesting things. It sounds like you can even leave your own tribute. I would love to know who created this, though. That'd be interesting. So I don't know. Maybe they're in our group too. You never know. So that's the About Me section. The Life section is empty. The gallery, I don't really see... I'm trying to see if there's anything. And there's really nothing in the gallery either. Let's see what this is. Nothing. Nothing in the stories. And just the obituary. I don't know if I've ever read David's obituary or not. It's been a while. Have you guys ever read this?
Combined obituary?
Yeah, it is a combined obituary. Look at that.
Could you please tell everybody how that came about? Because wasn't there not an obituary in the beginning?
Yeah, I think it probably would have came out around that time. Probably around, would have had to have been. Because I think there's actually a date on here that says when. So the thing was going to be held the funeral January 27th. There's visitation, so maybe a little earlier, and then a reception on January 28th, so at the funeral home. But yeah, really not too much here, but I don't know where this came. Wait, it says down here, I thought. Forget, it came from one of the local newspapers, probably. But that's pretty much all I know about this.
And they had visitation?
They had visitation, yes, they did. They had, visitation will be at the Michelson Funeral Home on Tuesday, January 27, 2015, from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Then they had a memorial service, followed by a reception that is at Wednesday, January 28, 2015, 11 a.m. in Owatonna, 135 Oakdale Street, at the funeral home.
How did they have visitation?
They had a closed casket, because I think Dan Hennon, if I remember correctly, Dan Hennon was going to go to this, and then he was kind of told not to, so he ended up not going. So they did something like that for him, for David Crowley. I don't think there was anything like that held for. I don't think the daughter or Kamel were part of that, but I could be wrong. I was not there, so. But it was all very quiet, all very hush-hush, and all just kind of going through the motions, and it seemed like a very controlled environment. But I'll tell you what, there were some interesting stories that came out of whatever happened either on January 27th or January 28th that I hope will come out someday. So if anybody was there on January 27th or January 28th, I would love to hear from you, because I'm sure you got some good stories about that day, some interesting stories about the way people were acting, and I would love to hear those stories personally.
But wasn't David cremated?
David was cremated, yes. Now, do you remember the date? Do the documents show what the date he was cremated? I'm not sure, but I know this was more... This usually at these things, they don't have the actual body there. I've been to some of those where, it's just like a service or whatever, and they might have like a casket or a flag or something like that, but nothing... Actually, they wouldn't even probably have a casket because it's not a viewing. So,
correct.
Yeah.
That's what I was having an issue with. I was like, that doesn't seem right, because I just had this conversation with my parents yesterday. One of their friends passed away. He was in very poor health for quite a while, and he was being cremated, but he paid extra so that he could have a viewing. And they rented a coffin so that he could be viewed by his friends. And then they cremated him. And it was very complicated, but they haven't even been able to have the memorial or anything like that because the wife has dementia. And she's next to kin, and she has to give her permission before they could cremate him. And it's just complicated and stuff. And anyway, I was just kind of confused by them saying that they had the visitation for David when he was cremated. And
Gotcha.
And I'm getting that form for you right now. I just have to find it.
Okay. So I just wanted to cover that a little bit and remind everybody, just to kind of keep up with new things that are happening in the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group. And when you're part of that group, you can always look at the new activity or look at the most recent posts here. So there was a post here that I did want to kind of cover, and I know I went a little bit longer than I wanted to with this topic, but that's okay. Where? Have you guys seen this video? Kelly Straub posted this in the group on December 31st, 2019. This is a YouTube video made way back when. It was like the Gray State filmmaker and family murdered. There was a lot of these videos like this. I don't know how long this one is here. But you won't be able to hear it. Okay, it's 23 minutes. I'm not going to play the whole thing here. But Johnny English is the guy's name. But there was a lot of this, and a lot of people just kind of already saying, this was posted on January 19th. So this is 2 days after the bodies were found. It wasn't really till around January 19th where a lot of people started coming out and like really saying, man, something is wrong here. You know, David was killed. How did the bodies go missing? How did these people go unnoticed for 3 weeks during a crucial season where, you know, we're generally hanging out with our families, spending more time with our families, and that was not the case here. And so there was a lot of these videos, and I don't know if you guys have seen this one. This one looks like it came from the UK, maybe even possibly. So I have not seen this one yet, but there was a lot of this that was coming out very early on that I think, you know, maybe not purposely, but stuff like this was kind of used to already discredit what Dan was doing, what Thomas Lapp was doing, what some other people were doing privately, and it was already saying that they're murdered. You know, Dabu 7 is another one that comes to mind because he was one of the big ones saying it, and then it was like a lot of people just kind of followed suit. And a lot of the stuff that he was talking about in that video that he made was just obviously not true. So I try not to jump the gun with these things, and I think both of you are kind of that same way. So when we got into this next case that we're going to talk about, this David Goldberg one, I wanted to make sure that I did the same thing and not kind of jump into this. Wanted to get some other people to look into this and get their thoughts and hear what people in our comment section said or what they think about this, because it's very this is a strange case, David E. Goldberg. So unless you guys have anything else about the David Crowley, I'd say we move on to this one.
That sounds
Greg,
good.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
real quick, it says that for David's paperwork, it says that it was cremation and date of disposition is unknown. So there's no date for when he was cremated.
Okay. Is there a date for that document?
Let me, I have it pulled up.
Okay. Because that will at least give us a timeline where we can say, well, it was definitely between this date and that date.
No, it just has date of birth and date of death. And then the ME number. But I don't see the date of the document. Wait, there might be one up here.
Speaking a little bit, just for a few, so I just want to say hi to everybody who is in our chat room too, everyone that I haven't said hi to. Stephanie C., welcome. And there's a few other people. Wolf Clan Media, thanks for joining us too. And we're all just looking at two cases. One that is very strange, and then the other one is David Crowley. So
Most strange.
most strange.
This is the strangest thing I have ever seen.
Okay.
Well,
I think you're setting it up well. Yeah.
As far as internet plants,
Mhm.
I'm going to say that this is one that garners deep attention and looking at why. Very much so. Why? David Goldberg was alive within, this year up until June 8th, I believe it is his day of Saturday, June 8th,
Right.
where he was got word of his passing from a neighbor who found him unconscious and not breathing, and that's a good definition for dead, and for a planned visit. And the thing that's curious about this is his videos and audio of describing having insight and information from a trusted source in the White House. who was giving him information that was indicative of a future tagging of the awakened populace of the United States as in regards to Zionism, the Elders of Zion type Zionism, in which they say that based on what David Goldberg was illustrating, based on, quote, documents he had gotten from his source at the White House, the Donald Trump White House, is indicative that they are going to seek to do a purge of these people like you and I, because they're awakened to this truth called truth seeking, and they do not like it and want to remove as many as they can. So it was strange. And I listened to it and I thought, this is insane. This could not even be true. So I wanted to, it had me thinking, well, why would somebody put something like this out? Nobody who has access to the White House gets this type of material out. That doesn't happen. You don't see this happening. And for this to happen brings up questions. One, who really did it? Was it a David Goldberg? If not a David Goldberg, who was doing it and why? And the accent of the gentleman, as Sophia mentioned, was so across the board and changing. It sounded Russian almost. Not exactly, didn't sound like a Russian Jew either, although he said he was Jewish.
Kind of sounded like what's that guy's name? Bernie Sanders, who is a communist. He's not a Russian Jew, but he's a communist Jew.
Yes, and well, communism was started by Jews, pretty much. It was a Jewish partial thing. Not blaming all Jews. I'm not an anti-Semitic type.
Yeah,
as you were well aware, Greg.
Right. and
quite
the opposite. Yes.
Yeah, I kind of have a Jewish tie in there. I had a Jewish wife and my son, so
there's something there.
I kind of like the Jews. They're a good group of people. Not all of them are, however. There are Zionists that have a different aim on the world, that could come up with ideals from the Talmud, which I do not follow. I do not follow a Talmud. I follow the word of the Most High. And this David Goldberg, now maybe he was a Jew, but I don't think that he was an Israeli Jew. He might be descended. I like the document which said that it was under the name of Igor Dovlatov. And I thought, now that sounds like the guy that was talking. Igor Dovlatov would be the man that I would say was doing that, not a David Elias Goldberg. And what's interesting is that there was another Goldberg that died in California who was a CEO of a company there, and that could be confusing.
Right.
As I was looking, I was saying, oh, we got two of them here. Wait a minute. And it might have been that they were taking that name from the dead Goldberg and using that name to put forth those videos that were strung out in YouTube. So I thought that highly red flagged right there. And what was the purpose of this? And I can't come up with any purpose for this whatsoever, except as a tactic to see where it goes and follow it, which they could do.
They could.
And then why would they do that? Maybe that's their tagging people, so to speak. And I thought this just doesn't make sense. And it has no way to trace it whatsoever. Nothing comes up anywhere that ties to a David Goldberg dying, which I think that was in New York. But,
yes.
And yet there's no information. Y'all couldn't find anything. I got nothing. And I thought, here's somebody that exists and doesn't exist. Yes, Sophia.
Usually if I start searching for somebody, I start with the white pages online.
Okay. Yeah.
because they will give me a whole list of people with similar names, same age frames. I mean, just the gambit. And
Yes.
then I can go from there, and then I can run background checks. Well, I found nothing for this person. Age range, nothing. I mean, I got lots of David Goldbergs, but nothing for this gentleman. And then I tried to do background checks just in case the white pages was wrong. And again, I kept coming up wrong. I went to a different system and tried that. All wrong. I mean, nothing was coming up. And I asked Greg, I was like, do we have the right information? Because I'm getting nothing here. Well, then I started looking online, searching his name and stuff, and the only things I came up with were blogs and the type of news where it's almost satire-ish,
Yes.
or it's unverified. And in fact, some of the links that I sent Greg, at the very end of the story, it says this story has not been verified as they're reporting it. And so you have to take it with a grain of salt, that kind of thing. But there were nothing in their local news and he passed away supposedly in Brooklyn. So it would have been York area that the local news would have picked up on it because it was a member of the community, supposedly. But there was nothing at all. Not a body being found, nothing.
And that's strange because they said they found him dead in an apartment. That means the call would have had to have gone out to the police and the coroner, and there would be records of that. There would be a record.
So we're gonna have to call every station in Brooklyn and see if they've heard it. I mean, I'm looking up how many police stations are in Brooklyn. So we'll see how many we have to actually call to get some type of an answer
there's
here.
about 70 or 80.
You're right. Looks like 77.
There's a lot of, somewhere in there. Goodness.
That's a lot.
And it doesn't give an address. It just gives a general area, and it's general.
It's got to be an easier way.
Except the fact that he says he's got a contact at the White House, that he's got these documents, and then you have the friends of David who took over things supposedly and have his site. And I'm going, this is the height of strange.
Yeah.
And beyond strange, now I'm going to throw this out there. The only reason someone would come up with something like this is wanting somebody to quote unquote discover and then follow the trail. Y'all think that seems legitimate?
Yeah, that's actually what this David E. Goldberg was talking about. Was they were creating part of Project Pogo and Zypher. That was part of it. What we're doing right now is part of that program, without us even knowing that we're doing it. That right? It's so crazy.
And he knows exactly what he's talking about because he might be the head of it.
Yeah, he's making it all come true. Now, I don't think he could make come true what happened with Iran and what's going on with all of that. How all of a sudden we're in Iraq on New Year's Eve, and I mean some stuff like that. I guess you can kind of see it coming. It's been coming. But the timing for me was just like, okay, maybe this guy was onto something. Then you kind of read deeper when you listen to what he's talking about, and it's a lot of stuff that David Crowley was also talking about. A lot of stuff that a lot of other people were talking about back in 2012. So
and that was coming up right at the time when we're having problems in where the member state involved in a possible war, which could come about with Trump. I don't know. I don't say that we're going to go to war with Iran, but and guess when the Iran era started? It's back in about 78, 79. And I've had people on the internet say, watch the nines. And I go, nines, okay, well, whatever.
Just as long as they
And
don't
then-
flip those 9s into 6s, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. But they say that that's what they can do and
Right.
what it means.
Right.
And as you think about 79, 2019, and problems with Iran, could, where was there another problem with Iran recently? He says it was in a 6 or a 9 year. I go, I haven't seen it. I haven't researched it yet. But if it terminates with 999, he says reverse it. It's 666.
Right.
It just makes sense. And one of the things that I've heard and is disturbing, which I don't believe, but the fact that Trump's son-in-law, Kushner, isn't that his name?
Yes.
Jared Kushner.
Yeah. They say Trump, now this is just hearsay. I haven't looked at any of the reports. They say Trump thinks that Kushner could be, and he's thinking might be, the Antichrist. And I'm going, what? And I didn't believe that. I don't believe Trump is. And this is one of those news information things that just, says everybody is the Antichrist.
Yeah.
It was Obama. No, it was Reagan. Oh, no. So, but the problem that bothers me is the fact that Kushner has been going across the world for Donald doing things. And he could fit criteria if he started changing his mode of operation, so to speak. In other words, trying to take over slowly. But they say it's by subtlety he does it, and I don't see that happening, although, Trump is a Jew, Kushner is a Jew. And could it be, we're in a time now where the revelation is in the future, as into 2 Thessalonians 2:3. So I look at these things and I say, what do you think?
Right. Yeah, I'm surprised how much there is out there about Trump being the devil. All right, that's a new one. Oh, look at this. One of the buildings is 666. What building is that?
Yeah, that's one of the things. And he seems to have an affinity for that number for some reason. And I heard in one report that he was looking for a building 666.
Wow.
I don't know how, truthful these people are with reports, because anytime you start talking about 666, and he's a notable person in New York. So there are some people that just want to, make style.
Oh,
points.
sure. Yeah. No, this
he
is
was looking for the building 666. He didn't just happen to buy it.
This is tabloid news, but I mean,
it's
yeah, I personally would not,
I don't believe any of it.
I would avoid
Especially
anything 666.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's all. Yeah.
And so the issue is with these things, I think, I look at these things from a spiritual and the physical point.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Trump nor Jared yet comes in view as Antichrist, because it says he is a man of severe. His face is not, in other words, is scary to look at. I mean, Trump may be orange, but he's not scary. And neither is Jared Kushner. But the reality is, with this little David Goldberg, it looks like a very clever, well, no, it doesn't. Actually, it's a very sloppy setup to gain information, like, as they call it, the gatekeeper sites. And it's interesting that it ties it into several info wars, for example, being a gatekeeper, which was something that I had suspected in my mind. But this might be putting people who are putting out the truth as gatekeepers to denounce them in the public view. So it's always a two-edged sword.
Yeah.
And I always look for the truth. What is the reality? And this comes back as pretty much a, not political, but could be pointing out a Mossad type of thing, where they're putting out to find out what the views of the people are to the Jewish workings in the world and how much they know. So that's just an aside. And how do you prove that?
Could be anybody. I want to see if anyone else is having any issues hearing us. Is our audio okay? I'm also looking on YouTube just to make sure, listening there too. So far, I'm on my end at least. It sounds okay. I'm not hearing any issues. Anyone else?
I've had a couple of dropouts.
Okay. Yeah, I did get a dropout too, actually, but I'm checking on it right now. So far so good. Maybe it was that little website. One of the websites that I went to might have had an issue or something, but so let me close some of these tabs.
And one of the points to bring out, Greg, from your perspective, are what are the tie-ins, this little bit of information that we've run across with this David Goldberg tie-in with David, Kamel, and Gray State?
Well, there's a great point right here. It's called Exposing the Gatekeepers. So who are these gatekeepers when it comes back to who is controlling the alternative sector? And what was David Crowley onto something by distancing himself away from many people in the alternative sector who were basically, I think a lot of other people, you guys might think too, they were trying to use him for their purposes. He's made those public comments where David would take that somebody would take his project, they would say, I love Gray State, and then they would try to make it their Gray State, and then they would try to tie it into whatever their I guess view, I don't know if views is the right word, but whatever they thought was really happening, what our real fight was, they would try to use it for that purpose, whereas David made it clear that he is a filmmaker, and he's not. His message was not that. His message was not say, hey, this is what is happening. It seemed like that 2012 trailer was almost made to stimulate us, to get us thinking about our own view on what is coming. And I think David might have gotten frustrated with people who kind of, they didn't understand that their view of Gray State is different than his view of Gray State. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure what David's view of Gray State was, and I really won't be sure unless I can read what his script was. Even an early version, I'd much rather read one of David Crowley's first scripts than some of his last stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think it would be good if we could get a hold of an early copy somewhere. There's got to be one somewhere that can be reviewed. You have reviewed some copies of the later stuff?
No, I've only been told there's only people who said, oh, it was about this or it was about some government person, but you never really know. I mean, what we know is it was not about that 2012 trailer. By 2014, that 2012 trailer looked a lot different. The Gray State Project looked a lot different than what that 2012 trailer was. I think that's clear. It was growing. It was building. It seemed like the story was kind of writing itself, but it was still a story. It wasn't David saying, at least my personal view, it wasn't David saying this is what's going to happen. I think he wanted to make a film. I think he wanted to make a really good film, and throw some real life stuff in there without throwing real life stuff in there, if that makes any sense at all.
Right. Kind of like, it's interesting that Alex Jones, there is a direction that they're trying to remove alternative news in a sense. Alex Jones was taken out.
But
they took him off.
But is he a gatekeeper? Is Alex Jones a gatekeeper, or is he on the other side of these gatekeepers? There's been a lot of talk about that, and even David Crowley kind of had some issues with that.
Well, that's something that I told to you before. I said, right, I'm not totally in for InfoWars with Alex Jones.
Right, I was totally into it, totally bought. hook,
And
line, and
I
sinker.
was,
Everything.
I suspected it because he was too perfect. And he was saying a lot of stuff that I thought, he's saying that publicly. Okay. And it wasn't outlandish, but it was touching on things that, you look at and go, wow, I wouldn't have said it that way. And it made me doubt him because of that. That was my thing. I didn't know anything based on that. And, I've known people who are Secret Service, and I can't say their names even because they're still there. But they tend to look at people like Alex Jones, roll their eyes and go, disinformation.
Right. Right.
And not to say anything against Alex or say that is true. That's
Right.
not what I'm saying.
But that's what this David Goldberg was basically saying about Alex Jones, and it's the whole Zionist thing. And I remember I had heard that whole Zion. It's like, if you're gonna tell me that he's part of some Zionist stuff, I mean, you got to give me some proof. You got to give me something. And
Yeah.
I still have not seen any proof that Alex Jones is part of some Zionist plot. The stuff that I've actually took the time to look at. After I look at it, I'm like, you guys just wasted 10 minutes of my life on this crap. So I don't know.
And this
I'm
is
still
something
open
that
to
I
it.
looked at and went, David Goldberg. I don't care about the David Goldberg thing. I want to look at the Igor's, that direction,
Yeah.
the Vlatov. That's the direction I look at. I'm going, we need to look at that. Is that his real name? I would assume that the speaker was that person.
Yeah, we had one of our people did a search on My Life, Ancestry, and Genie.com. All I can find are conspiracy site links. Author also found a suspicious profile from a Yandex image search that is similar to Goldberg's picture, but under the name Igor Dovlatov. Dovlatov, yeah.
Dovlatov.
I'm going to click on that link.
And see, I think this is just totally false.
But why? There's still a reason. I mean, we shouldn't just discount and say, oh, it's false. Okay, so let's move on.
Well, it is false, but how he was presenting it. But the Zephyr and the Pogo, I look at those as possibilities of being real.
That stuff could, and this all could be to kind of discredit that stuff and make you think, oh, we'll see, this guy's fake. All that stuff is fake. So you don't have to worry about them, taking over your country. You don't have to worry about 16 million people dying or going into these camps or being hit with this flu or something. You know what I mean? So it could be to discredit whatever is really happening.
Yeah, it's a preemptive strike so that if something does come out, for example, Alex Jones gets on his YouTube thing and puts out, this is happening. And this kind of thing would make you go, oh, no, I've seen that. That was a David Goldberg who was lying, and it was all a bunch of made-up junk. And that strikes me as being a very governmental way of keeping everybody out of your plans.
Right.
If it's out there in any form. And that would be what I would say is one of the things I think is an operative's duty is to disinform by telling them the truth, but making it bogus by how you present it. And
see, and that's how I saw Alex Jones. Some of the stuff he said it seemed believable, but then when you start to research it, there was like disinformation agents out there, and I don't know, it felt very similar to what I was listening to last night.
yeah, and his voice is he kept saying, nobody believes, you better believe this. He was trying to push it very hard. And in somebody that's got information, I don't think they do it like that. In my opinion, he was really, I think, overplaying it totally. And
I noticed that his voice changed too.
oh yeah,
So it had to have been several different people playing his part on the YouTube
yeah.
videos.
And it didn't make any sense how the voice changed when it changed, and it sounded Russian at one point, then totally different. And I was going, is this guy having some bronchial problems? He's choking up here.
Is it kind of weird that
didn't sound real whatsoever?
do you think
all.
do you think it's weird that they changed the YouTube name? I don't know what the name was before. Obviously, it wasn't Friends of David Goldberg, but do you guys think it's kind of weird that they changed whatever his YouTube name was to Friends of David Goldberg after his death?
Yes, I mean that definitely is.
I don't see the purpose of that, to be honest with you.
You know, and who are the Friends of David Goldberg?
Exactly.
You know?
They're not coming out. They're not saying, okay, we are. You know, it's like if you're gonna be brave enough to post this, you know, I mean, you should be brave enough to post who you are. I mean, maybe there's some safety issues, you know, maybe there is, but it's just kind of weird. Well, then why would you just say Friends of David Goldberg? Just keep his channel up, keep his channel running. But I don't know. That's just kind of weird.
The reality of it with this YouTube channel, I'm gonna be watching this YouTube channel.
Yeah, I'm gonna
as long as it is up.
I'm gonna actually play one here. This one is a 2-minute clip, so in a couple minutes I'll play one of these clips for everybody. YouTube won't hear it, but I'll make sure that I'll bring you back in. So have you both looked at these clips? Have you looked at his YouTube channel? And from what I'm seeing, there's another YouTube channel that David Goldberg had first. This YouTube channel was created on the Friends of David Goldberg, which was renamed for whatever reason, which is still bothering me for some reason. But this was created January 7th, 2019. And it's pretty soon after that, around May, I think, is when he says that he started having some issues where people were following him and men in black suits and black cars, all that stuff, all the same stuff that we always hear. He goes out to talk with them and they take off. I've heard this story from several different people that do turn out to be false, to be fake, you know.
Yep.
So,
and that's what I attribute to everything that I've seen. Just says I see more red flags than anything indicative that this is anything true.
I'm trying to keep an open mind on this, but yeah, it's really hard.
And it's a rabbit hole, and it seems like it's set up to be one.
Right.
And so when it's set up to be one, there, in my opinion, that is a purposeful setup. And this type of thing is, I think, a fishing hook to see what fish bites and who runs with it, so to speak. In other words, somebody that believes that. And, you know, a lot of people in the United States don't have a very fair opinion of Jews. I mean, I've heard it all my life. And my mom was saying, those Jews. And I was going, in my youth, I was going, I've never done anything wrong that I've seen.
Right.
I don't know what you're talking about. And today I run across people that will, even on my site, on my Facebook site, there's one person that's pointing to the Jews. And I'm going, wait a minute. They're not all that. Everybody makes it, Hitler did the same thing. It's the Jews. No, it's not all the Jews. There's more people in the world than Jews. And yes, there are some bad Jews and there are good Jews. But there are also good and bad in every culture, class, and people group in the whole world. And it's saying that they control it all and that they're doing it all is totally wrong, in my opinion. And even with this David Goldberg, like I said, this is a fishing hook. I don't believe that this David Goldberg was real. I think somebody took the name and spread some disinformation and wanted to see where this goes. That's my opinion at this point. But you said David Crowley mentioned that corresponds to a lot of this. And I kind of see that with the gatekeeper issue. And I'm sure there are gatekeepers which are working for the government, not just the Jews, but for the United States. I think, and Russia. And, and the big debacle in Congress right now of impeaching Trump is really, I don't know how they can hold their head up and say that there's anything to that, but they're doing it. And I'm anxious to see them send those articles of impeachment to the Senate in the coming weeks to see what really comes of this nothing. And when they're doing something this big, they're hiding something in the hallways of Congress, I think. And they may have been passing other bills or doing other things behind the scenes, which this David Goldberg may have been referring it to Jews, but maybe it isn't that at all. Maybe it's something that's happening within the halls of Congress and in the operations there. That's what concerned me. This may have a reality, but it's not based in this. And it may not be like he is saying, but it may be something similar that he couldn't say directly and is covering it all up so they won't know who it really came from. That sounds rather convoluted, but that's another thought.
That's how it works. That's how these disinformation campaigns work, right? It's counterintelligence.
Yep. But if you're wanting to put... Yes, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The way that I saw that his videos, I really could not get through all of them last night. It was hard to stomach.
Yes.
But, from the ones that I listened to, it sounded like a disinformation campaign, number one.
Yes.
That was very clear. But it also sounded like they were trying to peddle, well, I mean, they did mention that Trump was basically the Antichrist kind of thing, or Jared Kushner was, and he was, the way that they made it sound was extremely negative. And for a lot of Jewish people who were voting Democratic up until 2016 and could have been straddling the fence after the election and seeing how President Trump has really been trying very hard to do the things that he campaigned on and stuff like that, to me, it came off as them trying to convince those that were straddling the fence in thinking about voting for President Trump in 2020, that they were trying to put disinformation out there.
Exactly. And it's very timely. It came out right
in
the beginning of the final stretch into the election, right at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that holds a little bit of water, so to speak, because this could have come from the Democratic National Convention or the Democrats, in my opinion. They talk about collusion, that, Trump's done this, but it's really the Democrats that do all the colluding and the backroom deals, in my opinion. And I'm not one that's a Republican. And I look at both parties as suspect.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say that Republicans haven't had their own bad seeds. They have. But we've been trying to be just as damning to both sides.
Right.
I'm sorry. Things are not coming out the way that I want them to tonight.
Join the club. Join the club.
Yeah.
Today is just...
It has to be this weather.
It's something. It was just one of those days where everything just kind of went wrong. I've had just the worst day at work. I felt like I was like, am I cursed or something? What's going on? It was just one of those days where but we all have those,
Yep. And hopefully they don't come too close together.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you pray.
Well, we're only the second day into the year. Go ahead.
Yeah, and the holiday being yesterday, and you're just like, the week is all mixed up, and I have no idea what day it is, what time it is, what we're doing.
Who am I? What am I doing?
Yes. I'm just trying to
boy.
get a thought together.
Well, you gotta.
And you hope it's the right thought at the right day at the right time.
You were able to find some good stuff on that you sent me. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 articles here that we can also kind of go through. One of the notes from one of our friends. I'm not sure where this friend got this information. Goldberg allegedly worked for the State Department. Have you guys heard that one?
I had not. I had
me
not.
either.
Mm-mm.
Except in these notes, I had not heard anything about this. He just said he had a friend in the White House who got this to him. If he did work in the State Department, that would understandably give that angle of having a friend in the State Department that got him into, that information from the White House. But these types of things like this, if it were true, would be highly classified, and the need to know would be a point of 1 to 2 people. It wouldn't be floating to where it could get to somebody to leak it. That would not happen. That's the biggest red flag in this, is that he got something top secret. The Jews are planning to knock off power and then come out and kidnap and take away. When you're talking about that many people, you're not talking about a few hundred or 1,000 even. This is a lot of people. And for that to logistically, think about what you have to do that. Just think about, if you were planning that, how many lieutenants would you have to have out there? One for every 50 states, one of all of them. Then they have to coordinate where everybody is, classify them, and then set up power outages for that. That sounds a little bit, outlandish to the extreme. And the only way you could actually pull that off in a realistic sense is, one, it would take, terribly heavy logistics, and then have something like EMP pulse, the EMP, to knock out everything, the grid, all at once, and put everything in chaos. And even then, it wouldn't work well, because it would be all chaos. You wouldn't know where to find them.
Right.
So this strikes me as a disinformation piece that is put out there against Trump, which makes sense, and is trying to discredit him. And I think it smells like a Democratic thing, because they're so foolish. They're doing all the dumbest things they can, and here's another one.
Well, you have to remember, Trump, he's really not a Republican either, though. They don't like him. They never liked him. He had more Democrat friends, and
he was personal friends to
a lot of them.
Clinton,
yeah,
and Hillary, the Clintons. He was
to Epstein, a lot of these guys, and I don't know how close he was. I mean, just because Trump is taking pictures with these guys doesn't mean that they were like hanging out and all that stuff. I get that.
That's true.
But he was around all of these people, a lot of these shady people, and I'm just curious if he. I mean, we could go down. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole yet right now. But cases like this, it's just like, wait a minute. So you're trying to tell me Trump is, at one point, this David Goldberg guy says that Trump is going to declare himself king of Israel. And I'm like, and he, of course, he even said, I don't see that ever happening. But it's very clear, somebody, if this is a real person, whoever this person was, somebody was feeding him stuff. If it's not a real person, if it's just a hoax, then they were feeding us stuff. But they're still trying to feed this false information that could be half true. There could be some truth to it, but a lot of it just is just like, you guys are purposely putting this out there so that the weak people will say, okay, I don't have to worry about the the police state because this guy is not, this guy can't back it up, blah 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 blah. It's purposely putting out people that can be easily discredited, and then they don't have to think about the people that can't be, the people that actually are showing you documents and saying, well, wait a minute, there's FEMA camps here, Walmart could be used as a FEMA camp. Just a lot of different things. What they're doing in all of these other countries, they're not kicking down doors here. The cops are, but that's a whole nother issue too. And at that same time, the cops started, stopped being boys in blue, and it was SWAT teams. It was like people in black, and it just, especially around 2012, there was just this big fear that either made people very angry, made them very scared, or I think for many of us it kind of woke us up, kind of like, wait a minute, okay, there's something that could happen here, and let's say it doesn't happen, but we need to be ready. I think that the one good thing that I got from all of this is to be ready. Now, what they try to tell us about being ready, and this guy David Goldberg's friend Tom, who has 4 videos out after David's death 3 weeks ago, as soon as 3 days ago. So now we're getting into other people who are going to be taking over this channel, and this channel is getting hits. It's getting thousands of hits here. So and some of the stuff that I'm, because I have watched all of them, almost all of them, and it's just, I don't know. There's a lot missing, and for me, you're not going to tell me that it's just one group. You're never going to tell me that it's just Jewish people, that it's just white people. It's just this group. It's Muslims. It's Christians. It's not going to be like that. It's something much deeper. So I think things like this always take me back to remind me to look deeper than just one group, than just these people. Whatever these people are saying, it's not as simple as they're trying to make it sound, and they're trying to make it sound like they've got it all figured out. Anybody that usually comes to me like that, I will tune them out fairly quickly.
And that's what I did with him at first. And I thought, oh, this guy's a nutcase. He's just looking for notice and to see where this stuff goes, and saying, because the fact that you didn't find out that he was dead means he's still alive. Somebody is still alive that produced this.
Well, there's no birth. We don't know if he ever existed, I guess, either. So yeah, it's
and
who is he?
It's a big deal. Anytime you have no pathway, that means there is nothing there. Is one thing that I used to discuss with friends in the military, but there is something to this, though. Something, but it's kind of like a hint. It's like looking. It's like he's playing charades with us. He's wanting us to guess what he's really saying. That's just a thought, not a direction I would go right now. But it seems odd he's bringing something like this up, saying that this is going to happen, and he's putting out timelines which seem too sure. He was too sure of himself. And like I said, overemphasizing, you should listen. And he was speaking down like, you better act now.
Right.
And well, I'm wondering if he was speaking in code and it wasn't for us. Maybe it was for somebody or some people that were listening.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
When news stories could be used as code, or tweets even used as code, for certain groups of people that would pick up on code words within those tweets or the news story. And I'm wondering if that's what he was doing. And we're listening to him and it doesn't make sense. He sounds like a nut, or it's offensive to a lot of people listening. And he wasn't really trying to reach us. He was trying to reach somebody else. It just dawned on me.
That makes a lot of sense because anytime you put something out, it's nonsensical to anybody that doesn't have the background data as to what they're doing. And this could be a code for something that they're working on, maybe in regards to Project Zephyr and Pogo, which has nothing to do with Jews or knocking off Americans. What it could be is political jargon directing them what to do to alleviate a problem that is political.
Mm-hmm.
But
See, that makes more sense than.
yeah, I agree with you on that. And the thing is, the Jewish Center for Anti-Semitic Studies, there's no such thing that I've seen. And I'm tied to a lot of Jewish organizations. And I thought, Jewish Center for Anti-Semitic Studies. Never heard of it. And I've joined some groups that are Jewish groups, and anything that's tied to Jewishness, they would send to me and say, hey, you want to join? You want to donate? Get a lot of.
I'm sure.
And there is no Jewish Center for Anti-Semitic Studies that I've heard of or seen at all.
It would make a good front.
Yeah, if it was real.
That's true.
And if they have one, they're not listed too well.
Well, I mean, even what we're reading now, pulling up some of the articles that Sophia sent to us, and I mean, they're reporting it as fact. This is from a veteranstoday.com. This was posted on September 1st, 2019, and they're reporting this as it's fact. David E. Goldberg was found dead in his New York apartment on June 8th. The death is being investigated, but at this time, authorities have given no indication as to the cause of death. He was 59. And I don't know. I got a problem with that too. It's like, who's saying this? Friends of Mr. Goldberg are saying this. These people, whoever wrote this, did not look anything up, and to see, did they do any research on who this guy was, blah, blah, blah. I mean, the article itself is just kind of like feeding right into the whole thing, and just because most people aren't going to dig deeper. They're not going to try to find out what the case number is. They're not going to find out what the documents show about his death that should be public. It's just, he's found dead, and and it's the same thing with these articles over and over again. You see this same pattern. It's with David Crowley too. I mean, it was very similar. It was like the exact same thing that we're seeing, except we were able to get those documents, and so that's why I'm like, well, maybe there's still a chance that we can, show that this was a real person, but it shouldn't be. I mean, shouldn't be this hard. It really should not be. We got to go through 77 precincts to see if there. That's the only way that I'm going to be 100% sure.
And that's right. And the thing about it is, there are those people, and I don't think this is one, that they erase if they're tied to certain projects.
Right.
They don't exist, at least in the public forum. And, these are the people that get guns with no identifying numbers or tracers or anything. I don't suppose this one is. And I'm talking about Igor Dovlatov here, and I'm going, I think that this is a Russian, possibly. He might be Jewish, he may not be, but he's, one, slamming at Trump somewhat, and the Jews at the same time, and is making it look like Trump is colluding with the Jews to eliminate Americans. And I go with Sophia in that, and you in the situation that, hey, this is looking like it's a slam against Trump to, somebody to break it to a news organization, and they go, oh, what? And for them to go, oh, wow, about.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like a dumb Democratic you know, Easter egg that they leave out there to see if it'll pop.
I'm surprised it hasn't hit the New York Times or the WAPO yet.
Give it time.
And I'm going to
I
be
know, right?
I'm going to be digging at this a little bit, and I'm going to call New York City. I said I have a friend named Daniel Goldberg. They said he was dead. And I'm going to play the dumb hick and say, there's a news report. I know a David Goldberg. I don't think he's dead. He's in Brooklyn. And just kind of see where it goes. And because this makes no sense to me, except there's a point. It was put out for a purpose, and the code thing hits and makes sense too. Coded message sent out that makes no sense to anybody but to those to whom it is sent. And they do that all the time with you know, I mean, I remember in the military when I was talking to somebody and he said, oh yeah, here's one, and he told me, and I thought, oh wow, I think that's an idiot. He'd go, exactly, but he's not. And this just popped up in my mind when I was like, oh yeah, when Sophia mentioned it, I thought, it kind of came, oh yeah, agents will do the display of information in a public forum in such a way as nobody gets it but those who are preset to understand what is in there, and they're looking for keywords, phrases, or emotions, or words, or just how it is presented to get their instructions. So that makes a lot of sense to me too.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as weird as this is.
It's
as weird as this video.
Really weird. It's really weird. They make claims. This friends of David Goldberg. David Elias Goldberg was an advocate for Israel and the Jewish people during his 25 career in public service. What public service? I mean, everything is just so vague like that. It frustrates me. And fought anti-Semitism wherever hatred and racism against Jews dwell. Really, he went everywhere, all across the whole planet, and fought anti-Semitism. I mean, he passed away on June 8th. We've heard that. They never give the year. That always bothered me too, because he's not the only David Goldberg out there. It's kind of a common name, actually. He's 59. This channel is now managed by Friends of David Goldberg. Who are these Friends of David Goldberg? Who are they? I mean, they have...
Plus, in New York, that leaves you... How many Goldbergs are in New York? It's Think about
it's
it.
all... Yeah. Come on.
If you're going to research it, you may be running into a lot of dead ends.
You might have to quit your job just to find all the stuff on that. As Friends of David Goldberg, we share no political views or bias. Our purpose is to follow David's instructions and present the information left to us. And this is all, it's just sounding like a fictional movie, like a fairy tale.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We make no claim as to the truth or veracity of these claims. What claims?
Of course.
The claims that he's saying or the claims that they're saying? I mean, it's it's legal speak here. Then it gets weird. Now we get into threats. Hostile, threatening comments will be removed, which I'm totally for that. Anyone who's in our chat room right now, we got some great comments going on in the chat room too. So we want to thank everybody for that too. But so I totally get that part. But any attempt to defame, harass, or harm friends of David Goldberg, nobody knows who they are. But if you try to defame, harass, or harm them, or their families, associates, or friends, or suppress our free speech will be met with immediate legal action, and authorities will be contacted. That's weird. Weird stuff right there.
I mean, we're like getting to whistleblower type
It's trying to make himself legitimate.
It does make, it kind of was like, oh, well, I better be careful what I say. I don't want to suppress, am I, if like, am I suppressing their free speech right now by us talking about that? Is that going to be considered suppression of the free speech? I don't know. It's just weird, and
We don't even know who they are.
they haven't identified themselves.
Oh my
So
gosh.
how could you defame
We don't
or
even know
harass
David
them?
Goldberg.
Right.
Or
Right.
if David Goldberg is even real.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just like a stamp, like they put a stamp on it or something. Very odd. Very odd stuff. And I know yesterday during our replays, I tried to play as many of the videos. And we had some people on that chat who had heard of this case and seemed kind of like pro David. And I was hoping that they would kind of be here. They might be here in the chat room too. I'm not sure, but I just want to let people know we're just sharing our feelings on this stuff, and we're not saying that it is or isn't a hoax. We don't know but I mean, if somebody can't help us find who these people are, who he is, I mean, there's got to be some documentation. If there's no documentation, you can't get mad at us for sitting here thinking this has got to be a hoax.
Yeah, and the thing that bothers me is that he's making very serious allegations based on what they say are top secret documents. And that's either a false flag, it's unreal, or the flip side of that coin is he had something real. And he was sending out the information that he got the data. Now, if anybody knows that, and if they can bring up corroboration to that information, i.e. documents, present them. I mean, show us what you got. No, we don't have to do it publicly. But talk with Greg. Get with Greg Fernandez.
I mean,
give us, or me, Walter Brad.
Give us something. Give us something that will help us, see that this is a real person, that there's a real case number. That's all we're asking for. I just want to know where this guy died. You tell me it's in Brooklyn. Brooklyn is a pretty big place. There's no, City, I mean, come on. I mean, even with like David Crowley, and there were people saying David Crowley's thing was also a hoax, and he faked his death. Hey, kitty. And, all of that. We got all of that stuff, but we were able to find the documents. You could say, well, this is what we know. We know that there were 3 bodies, and on and on and on. With this one, it's like you have these group of people who have been running his site for about 3 months. Why do they not have any of these documents? Why are they not putting out any of these documents? Just something. Give us something to show what the cause of death was, or to show that you tried to get the cause of death and the cops said, no, we're not going to give you that. There's got to be some type of documentation of we reached out to the cops and they said, we're not sharing anything. It's not good to just say, well, we tried and they're not talking. No, there's got to be something. You can't have it both ways. And it's very frustrating. This is frustrating me here. And maybe part of this is to just frustrate people so they just stop caring and stop looking into these types of cases. Because things like this do happen. People that are looking into intelligence programs and counterintelligence programs, they do come up missing. They do come up dead. People that tried to expose some of these very dark things that are happening, things happen to them, And so when I see hoaxes, if this is a real hoax, man, that makes me angry. That really bothers me, because you guys are purposely trying to discredit the real things when things like this really happen. You guys are scum. If that's what's going on here, these are very, very bad people that need to be exposed for the hoax that they are, for this hoax that is going on here. And I'm not sure what is going on here. I'm not saying that I'm convinced that this is a hoax here, but I mean, you have people that are running this site, they're making videos, they're posting blogs, they're spreading things out, they're doing a good job of spreading it, but what are they spreading? Where is the documentation? Where are the photos? Where is the press release? Where you tried to reach out to the cops, to the captain? in Brooklyn, and they stonewalled you. Where is that? Give us something. And not just to me, not just to people privately. It's got to be public, or else you guys are just full of crap. Can't have it both ways.
Yeah, I agree with that one. And the thing that matters is, who is the one that give us the person to come online here and who made all of these, because I think he's still alive. I'm being honest. The person who did those videos and those audio sections, I think is still alive.
Well,
and I don't think it's David Goldberg.
If you look at, and I want to play this video of a different David Goldberg, but if you look at this, what I have on the screen right now, okay. This is the David E. Goldberg, and if you compare that to the David Goldberg that died in 2015, this is a 2-minute video here that I'm just going to play, and then we'll come right back. And I just want people to hear this, so stay tuned. YouTube won't hear this, but everybody on YouTube, you will. 1 second.
My closest advisor is my wife.
Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg called him her best friend and the love of her life.
I have an awesome husband. We are at 50-50. No, we are at 50-50.
But the life of her other half, SurveyMonkey CEO David Goldberg, was cut short by what Mexican authorities say was a freak accident at the gym, resulting in severe head trauma. The family checked into the exclusive Villa Palma Sola Hotel near the Mexican resort town of Puerto Vallarta last Thursday, according to the state attorney general. A day later, authorities say Goldberg was exercising on a treadmill when he slipped, fell, and hit the back right side of his head, creating a 3-centimeter gash.
People can have fairly small external injuries, especially to the skull and to the scalp, and that can bleed quite significantly, and it also indicates that there's some type of internal injury to the brain.
Investigators say Goldberg went to the gym at about 4 p.m. His brother Robert found him on the floor in a pool of blood 2.5 hours later. He was still alive. His brother called for help, but by the time the Silicon Valley exec got to the hospital, it was too late. He was pronounced dead, according to the Attorney General's spokesperson.
The timing is absolutely important, and studies have shown that repeatedly. You have to get these patients to the hospital, to the well-equipped and to the right hospital as quickly as possible.
Goldberg's sudden death has shocked many around the country, including President Obama, who took to Facebook saying in part, David Goldberg embodied the definition of a real leader, someone who was always looking for ways to empower others. We're heartbroken by him leaving us far too soon. The woman, known for leaning in, has not made a public comment, only responding to President Obama on Facebook. Thank you, President Barack Obama, for this beautiful tribute and for your friendship to our family. Dave Goldberg admired you for your leadership, passion, and your deep love of sports. Now, about the investigation, the state attorney general telling me this afternoon that an autopsy was performed, that foul play was not found, and that it was pretty much deemed an accident, and that the family didn't ask for further investigation.
So, okay. So we're coming back now, and you can clearly see the difference between the two David Goldberg cases here, and how, what the big difference was. That was one that was in May 5th of 2015. With the guy.
I'm interested in investigating his death.
I know. Tell us why. I know you have some stuff on that.
Oh, that is fishy.
It is. He was a CEO in Silicon Valley. And in Mexico.
Yeah, in Puerto Vallarta.
Puerto Vallarta, yep.
Yeah, thank you. And he just slips and falls in a freak accident, and I'm doing the quotation marks, the air quotes.
Right.
Yep.
A 3-inch gash. Wow.
And stays there for 2 hours, and nobody comes in and finds him. That's when you're on a vacation.
That's a perfect hit right there. I'm sorry. This is fishy. His death is fishy. But there's an actual news story for him.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't find anything, not even an obit for the other dude.
Right. So why are these news
So-
sites posting it? Why are they posting this stuff? Knowing that. I mean,
News sites.
well, whatever you want to call them, right? I mean, they are websites that have news on them.
Okay.
So that's accurate, I think.
I think that they're just repeating what was put out there.
Right.
But like you read in that one thing, there was a disclaimer. They could not prove that things were true. So they were just reporting it. And I think there was another one in yellow at the very bottom. And there's like a box, and it was written in yellow saying that this was unverified information. That was on another link that I had sent you.
Okay.
So, but that means they did not have any documentation then in none of the documents that this Goldberg said he had.
That's the real story. That is the real story. Why aren't they covering that? To me, that's what I would focus on. I don't know.
And
He never showed proof that he was poisoned. He was claiming that he was poisoned with arsenic weeks before he started his videos, but he never showed proof of that.
Right. There should be.
I mean, anybody could say they were poisoned.
But he doesn't even verify that. How do we know he's David Elias Goldberg? I mean, that's what he's telling us.
There's no name. There's a hospital with no name. A place in Brooklyn might just want to have themselves on a news camera shown from the bottom. No name for the cops. Yeah, there's nothing. Where did he live? He lived in an apartment in Brooklyn. Where? I mean, simple things like that are not going to put anybody sure to find out what the truth is here. But
it's too generic.
It's way generic. Yeah, I've never seen anything. Never seen anything so frustrating like this. That is just like so irresponsible. It's very irresponsible.
Everything leads to a dead end. You can't. If I was an investigator, I'd be pulling my hair out, going, "Wait a minute, how can I verify anything? You cannot."
Right. We don't know if he had kids.
That's how I felt last night.
Yeah, I could tell. I could tell. That's how you always feel? Is that what you're going to say?
It's like, how am I supposed to do this? I have the information, enough information to pull a background, but I can't find him. That was my biggest red flag. And then, of course, the other things fell into place because I thought, okay, well, there's got to be something in regards to him on the internet besides when he just appeared suddenly and started doing these videos.
Yep, and I like what Danielle Blumenthal says. I think the story about a death phone call is fake news, not a real person. Accusation that President Trump is planting a false flag with Iran, blessed by the rabbis, also fake. I look at that from what is being presented, and I go, it smells like a rat, and the name doesn't lead to anywhere at all, as Greg says. And it was frustrating to me when I was digging through this, and I'm going, if this is real, we need to find out. I need to toss this. And I'm the one that discovered this and brought it to Greg. And I said, this is weird. I didn't really want to give it to him, but I thought, this is going to be a big dead rabbit hole going somewhere to nowhere. But,
and I didn't know that you gave it to him, and
it was me.
It's all him. It's all his fault.
Who gave you this crap?
Blame Walter.
And I have to confess, because it was frustrating me, and I'm going, where is this guy? This is either false or it's real. Let me toss it to Greg and see if we can find anything. And lo and behold, nothing. And I went, now I'm really frustrated, because I'm going, there's something to this that we're not seeing, though. Do y'all feel that? There's something to this. And I like what Sophia said. This could be a missive to somebody, and we're not the somebody who's supposed to get it, but somebody was and is getting it, and it deals with the president.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not dealing with Jews. I doubt it. But it's about dealing with America and the United States. Okay, I see that somewhat. What can we pull from this that it actually could be in a realistic sense that's coded in this message?
Oh, don't make me go back and listen to it again.
Here's another one here in the DanielleBlumenthal.com one that was that Sophia graciously pulled up for us, found this quickly for us. Number 4, the blog post continues. Friends of Mr. Goldberg were given access to his accounts before his passing. I do kind of find that interesting too. In one of in his last video, in David E. Goldberg's last video, according to their YouTube channel, he had a dead man switch, and that's another key word, because when I hear that, my first thought is to roll my eyes. I will be honest. Yes, but then then I'm gonna say, okay, well, now that I've rolled my eyes, now that I've gotten that out of my system, let's look at this objectively. Let's look at this. Okay, what do they have? Like, what was the whole plan? Are they doing whatever his plan was? How does a dead man switch work? Obviously, it's different with every person, but how would this one work here? And what are they doing for that? And it seems like at that point, the dead man switch, we always hear it's going to release things, to release these documents. David E. Goldberg, in his last video that was posted there, he was reading from a document. Where is that document? If they were able to get his videos, if they were able to get these documents, where are they? Why aren't they out there? Why not put those documents out there? Things like that frustrate me. And if I would have looked at the case back in June, I probably would have stopped by this point. But I think because it's like we're almost 6 months later, what do you guys have now? You guys got to get something. You can't just sit on this stuff. You got to get something. Give us something here. Or else, don't be mad when people say that you guys are full of crap and that this is a complete hoax. And if that's true, you're going to bring heat onto yourself. A lot of heat. Real heat from real people.
The kind of heat that you can't
don't want. From. No, right. Stains. It stains.
And it's interesting, they say friends of Mr. Goldberg were given access to his account before his passing. At this time, they are reviewing many documents in Mr. Goldberg's possession, some which appear. They don't appear to be top secret. They're top secret. If they're top secret, they're stamped, and they describe whose eyes can see it. In these
wouldn't they be charged with a crime if they have that in their possession?
Absolutely.
Because it's classified.
Make that public,
yeah, and to make it public is
exactly
pretty
dumb.
Stupid.
Yeah, that made me see this as a red flag. Number 2, aside from the dumb name you couldn't find anything else about, that they are not for real. Because if you have documents like that, you're in criminal possession of top secret documents coming from the White House, and they scan for stuff like this. They look for it, and that means even bigger. If the government's not interested, maybe they're part of it in some way.
Right.
You never know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
It could be a phishing thing. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's like a phishing scam. Give me $1,000 and I will send you $1 million. Send it to Nigeria. We see this thing over and over again.
Yes.
And number 5. This post alludes to Goldberg allegedly being aware of a top-secret POTUS plan to declare war on Iran. Now, this is an interesting one here because of what we're seeing now with what happened at the embassy, which I did have up here somewhere.
Yes.
And, there's some reality to that. So,
And the timing of this with that had me going, whoa, that's kind of interesting.
yeah, it's pretty odd. It's pretty odd. Just things like that, and the whole rabbi thing. I don't know anything about the rabbis. Do rabbis bless wars? And would they bless a war with Iran right now? I don't know. The Iran thing is an interesting thing. I've talked to a couple soldiers who served in Iraq and met some Iranians. I guess there's like a group of them that are living in Iraq, but they're from Iran and fighting the whole mullahs and blah, 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 and all this stuff. You look back in the 70s and 80s and how modern
Yep.
things were way back when, how advanced they are, how smart they are. They're like some of the smartest people. Like there's a
They're
lot
very
of
intelligent people.
very intelligent, more than I was even aware of, and it's just like this deep state, whatever you want to call it, this gray state, whatever this thing is, man, the devil is what you could really call it. They don't want that. They don't want that to be out there. But here we're kind of seeing where it's kind of like a watered down version. It's kind of what it's, it's like, well, Trump is bad because he's a Jew or because he's supporting Jews. I do kind of see all that, all of the stuff that Trump, this is really for Trump. So if Trump makes war, if he does anything, but what I'm glad to hear is that this story did not take off, thankfully, the way that some other stories did. Unfortunately, the way that the David Crowley story did, where people still think David Crowley is guilty, and that's it.
And I don't believe any one bit that David Crowley is guilty.
Yeah.
I do not.
No, there's no proof of it.
No. And if they
If there
followed
was
evidence,
proof, they'd show it.
yeah. And if there was any evidence that he really did it, it would have shown up there. And I don't see it. Not one bit. None of it.
Right.
And this is one of those things right here that when I looked at this, I went, this is just disinformation, or a message to somebody, or he's nuts. There's three possibilities, maybe four, that it's a government op. And I don't know where to turn with it right now. And based on all the stuff we've gotten, it seems like with everything a dead end, it points to a government type of op, or the fact that it was just somebody playing a game. But I'm not convinced this is real at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had a friend who is a really amazing researcher, and she was coming up with the same dead ends that we came up with. So I was actually surprised, but not surprised at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a double-edged sword.
Out there, yeah, if there was anything out there, I would have expected her to dig it up.
Right.
But she wasn't able to, and I'm like, wow, okay. Then that validates what I already...
And it validates what I'm saying. The only thing that gets me is the Igor Dovlatov, and I want to look into him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, we need to start looking to some of our Russian friends and find out, because we might find out that well, okay, point number 18 in this Daniel Blumenthal, the photo for Igor Dovlatov is a fake-looking profile that looks similar to David Elias Goldberg. Note the receding hairline, the eyes, the mouth in particular. So there you go. Now, I mean, looking at the photo that's posted with that, and that might be number 17, but it is kind of weird that there's like really just one or two photos out there. And, if this guy was really smart, if he was really off of the grid, then that's fine. But the public stuff, the stuff that shows how he died, would only help the friends of David Goldberg to get that out there. Why aren't they going after that instead of them telling me how bad Trump is and I need to be ready? I mean, let me pull up some of these videos to kind of see what they're talking about. How to get ready. There's like AI, they can replace me. There might be somebody else out there looking just like me out there right now, posting just like me, but it's not me. Yeah, okay, you guys can get all of this stuff, but you can't give me the simple documents to show me who this guy is, to just prove who he is. That's a big problem.
They got all this help for us.
Yeah.
Without proving who he is, the help means pointless to me.
It's nothing. It means nothing. I mean, that's the simple thing, and if they're scared to go after those documents, point us in the right way. We'll gladly go after those. We'll gladly get the public documents from the public sources.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, come on. This is not how you go about being a friend of someone that you think was killed. And that's what they're saying. So, can't have it both ways.
And they're saying something that's quite insane, that the Jews, and this is always what the Jews are out to get. They're out to get you. Watch out for the Jews. And I go, no. That's another thing that stands out to me.
Yeah.
And I knew some very prominent Jews, Moish Rosen, Jews for Jesus, and his wife Seal. And, they weren't, and they knew of all the junk that goes around being Jewish. And they said there's always a constant, and it's like some Jews like to stir that up so they can jump up and say anti-Semitism. Sometimes they stir up things to bring trouble that they can point out and say, oh, that's wrong, you shouldn't be doing it. And then there are those that I see and have run across, and that are simply, they don't like the Jews and like to stir up problems for them wherever they can and in whatever way it can. And that's another thing to think about, is the fact that somebody may have something against the Jews. Possibly. Russia, that guy sounds kind of Russian. Is he a Russian mole that's simply planting crap to get America stirred up against the Jews? Well, that's a possibility also.
And that's a huge thing that made me so sick to my stomach while listening to it. It's like, I can't listen to stuff like that. It nauseates me throughout my whole body.
Because I identify very closely with Judah, and I thought, and I have a prayer shawl, a tallit, and my son, and his wife's Jewish, so these things strike at me. I go, wait, that could affect my boy and his wife. She's Jewish. In fact, don't say this outside of the, edit this out, okay, Greg? What I'm about to say.
Wait, no, I can't. This is live. We're live on YouTube now.
Well, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Oh, that's right. That's right.
We're live. Buddy.
This isn't the recorded.
No.
I will not put that out.
We have
I'm sure somebody had their notepad out.
Well, we got about 12 people in our live YouTube chat room right now, but it's just us 13, 14 people. It's cool. Don't worry. It's all good.
I can tell you something that's quite interesting about my son's relations, but I'm going to leave that very much alone. Not even going to mention their name. A Jewish family.
Okay.
But I may have told you about it before, and I hope that wasn't made public.
No, it was not. No.
Oh, good. Because my son would kill me, and well, never mind. He would be like, "What are you doing?"
Well, as long as we have documentation that that it really happened, I'll be happy.
Well, this is the real deal with him and his family. I'm going. When he told me, I went.
I remember what you're talking about. Yep.
And I went, "You're kidding me?" He said, Dad. I went, "Okay, thanks for telling me." But anyway, getting back to the subject, that this interested me, and I did think of David Crowley when I looked at this. I thought, this is really weird. He's talking about Jewish things.
It hit all the points. Yeah, it hit all the key points.
All the points of how the gray state was. And I was thinking, this is kind of like that. And I thought in a little bit like that. And immediately I thought of you, Greg, in this. I thought, maybe I should give this to Greg. And I thought, and I was debating it. And so Sophia, that was me that did give it to Greg. So I'm the guilty party that led you on this wild goose chase. So please forgive me on that. But this thing intrigues me to no end.
It does me too, because I do think there is something here. Not what we're seeing, but I think Sophia's right. There's a message here.
It's layered.
Yeah, it's very
layered. Something is here.
Yeah.
And I want to know. Stuff like this just drives me nuts.
It does.
Where I have to know what's up.
Me too.
It does. I say, come on. I want to find out more. And I am going to go to the site and look at all their videos and everything, because maybe that's the point. It was
How many subscribers do they have for their site?
They have a lot. Yeah, let me pull that up. They have over 5,000 subscribers.
Wow.
223,000 views total for the channel, and that's from 2019. Most of the views, though, look like they're from his post death stuff. So no, actually no. I'm looking at some of his older stuff. He kind of gets about even his first one got 12,000 views. His first video on here. That's really good. Now that could be paid, because there are things you can do very easily, and you can get thousands of paid hits. It can be easily done, So, but after he died, the one where they posted his final words, that's gonna hit 100,000 views. That was posted 4 months ago. That one is the big one, and that's the one that I've watched and played over and over again, because that 26 minutes, that is obviously, that's the one that's meant for me. It's meant to pull me in. And I don't know if people have watched that. They get pulled in looking at the police state. Anyone who understands that, this video is meant for you. It's meant to pull you in, to get you thinking, to remind you of things that we were hearing back in 2012 by the same opposition groups. It was all fear tactics, which was something that I thought David Crowley got himself involved in. He was part of the fear porn. When I say that I thought Gray State, the 2012 trailer, was fear porn, that doesn't mean that I thought David Crowley was purposely spreading fear porn. I do want to make that clear, because I don't know if I ever have, but he was around a lot of people. He was influenced by a lot of people. David Crowley would contact a lot of people before he would do anything, before he would put things out there. There were a lot of people that he was constantly asking questions to, getting their advice about, and then later on, those same people are the ones that he's shutting out of his life, that he doesn't want to be part of. So, but this video, it's the David Goldberg's final words with a classified document. So, of course, classified documents reveal deadly Project Zypher and Project Pogo. And what's weird is that one was posted 4 months ago. Then there's another one, David Goldberg's Secret Phone Recordings Part 1, 17 minutes, posted 2 months ago. That one only has close to 7,000 hits. That's a big jump. So I don't know if people watched his final word one and then were like, okay, flags are going up, so they stopped. But that's a big drop. It's a big gain, but it's a big drop.
Yep. Seems like there was a loss of interest, to say the least. And that's what I was thinking. I was about to drop the whole thing and go, I don't want to deal with it. But then the thing that bothered me was, what if something is in this?
Right.
And I
They always
couldn't let
keep
it
you
go.
guessing. Yeah, they always. Well, maybe there's a little
And
truth.
did you agree that this
Yeah.
was good to give it to you,
Oh
Greg?
yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Oh,
Definitely.
okay. Because I was debating real hard. I was going, no, this is junk.
I mean, usually I'm like, because even with like Sandy, with the Sandy Hook thing and some other things that are hoaxes, the whole Vegas thing, I found myself being very balanced, very skeptical, saying, well, maybe it's not a hoax. Maybe Sandy Hook is not a hoax. Maybe the Vegas shooter, maybe he was able to kind of do this, which is not true. But with this, it was just like, this is different. This is totally, this is like, it's like a Hulu show. You know, it's a Netflix series is what it feels like. It feels like this is somebody's pitch to say, hey, you know, I can make this movie. Look, I got all of these hits. Let's make a movie about this, you know. And this is the bad side for YouTube. And so whoever these friends of David Goldberg are, and I've reached out to them. I just left one comment. I couldn't find them on Facebook. It's like, why aren't you guys start a YouTube channel? Are you on Facebook? Is there anything that you guys are doing on Facebook? I haven't found them on Facebook either. But
I don't think you're going to get a reply either.
But if they really want to get this message out, you know, if they really want to get justice for this person, I'm just not seeing it here. And that bothers me because it's a very stark message that he puts out there.
Yeah. And they're friends that are wanting to get that message out. I don't see it.
No,
right
it just looks like a carbon copy of something else. I don't know. I'm just having a hard time with this. And this might be the first time where I'm like, yeah, this is a clear hoax.
And that's what I wanted to do. It intrigued me so much as that this is a hoax. I know I don't want to follow it. It's just going to be wasting my time. But something in the back of my mind says there's more to this than what I am seeing.
Well, hoaxes aren't a waste of time, though. I mean, we have to remember that, too, because there's a reason why somebody would create that hoax. And if you can pull back that curtain and find out who the man is behind that curtain, maybe it'll help with some of the things that aren't a hoax. What if it's Soros? It's all tied. It's all related. You know, you can go as high as the one evil, and and I don't know. I mean, I hear a lot of this stuff about anti-Jews, and I'm like, I don't really care about Jews. I don't really care about what they're doing. You know, it's not something that ever really concerned me in my spiritual journey.
No. Not every Jew is out to. The Jewish state is not out to get everybody. They may do certain things, and they may have been involved in certain things in the past. However, not every Jew in government, whether it be Netanyahu or Mossad, is out to knock the United States.
Well, and then some of them are like, they're German Jews, and they're Russian Jews, and they're this Jews and that Jews, and it just gets to the point where it's just like, what are you guys talking about? You know, evil is evil. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that every Jewish person is evil. But I'm not going to say that, you know, just because they're Jewish, then I have to be scared to call them out on certain things either.
Oh, yeah, like, definitely. No, it's just,
they're either a good person or they're not.
And I'll do some calling out, and I've done some stuff calling out. I'm not afraid of them because, you know, I follow their king. and a lot of times they are fighting him. The Jewish state does fight against Christianity as a group in a sense that they say that that's not real.
Right, but who created that?
The Talmud says some pretty nasty things.
Right. Whether
it's Jerusalem or the Babylonian. And they're not things that, if you read those as a Christian, you'd be going, what? No. It's certainly Jewish-centric, for certain. That's what people are talking about when they're talking about, it's the Jews. No. You know, in certain parts of the Talmud, it says that all are servants to the Jews, and that. You have to realize that not everybody in Judaism follows that.
Right. Well, let's see. So we went through the Blumenthal articles. Henry Makow. Have you guys ever heard of him?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I don't know that much about it either, but this one is more kind of like leaning in, well, you know, I don't know. It seems like a lot of people did a good job of just calling all this stuff out, even way back when. Maybe that's why it didn't get as much traction, and that's, you know, maybe that's why I haven't heard of this until yesterday.
Brad did I was too intrigued.
Hey, check this out. Yeah, right. Let's start off the new year.
Let's see if we can find something. Nobody found anything, but this is some reality that's strange.
Right. Let's see. By Henry Mack. So he's a PhD, whoever this Henry Makow is. Somebody out there is probably really mad because we don't know who he is. But a White House insider who he refers to as a male, yet interviewed a female. Interesting. Supposedly gave Goldberg a trove of documents and memos which indicate that the Kabbalists fear the increasing awareness about Zionist plans for a tyrannical world government based in Israel. I don't know, man.
This is a ball of twine that seems to unwind and lead nowhere.
Yeah. I mean, we can't just say, hey, there's this thing called Project Zephyr. Like, okay, if you have documents or if you have something...
Because you're not going to be able to Google Zephyr if it is a real thing.
No, and if they had a dead man switch, all that stuff should be out there right now.
Yep.
You know, the guy's dead. So, I don't know.
And he's thrown all the documents out to his friends.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a quagmire.
Something,
yeah.
A link for Project Zephyr and Project Pogo? Oh, I guess I didn't.
No.
To myself.
No, I'd like to find anything on that. Everything I found leads back to this same person, the same source. Yeah, if you want to send me something on that, if you have that, that would be great.
That's what I'm looking. I usually send myself when I'm doing this. So give me 1 second. I think it's Israel Today News, Friends of David Crowley.
David Goldberg. Yeah, we had that.
Not David Crowley, David
Goldberg. Yeah, I know.
So
I got
sorry,
you.
folks.
No, I know.
It's still Thursday, right?
Technically, depending on what country you're in, yes.
Yeah, I'm so confused lately.
IsraelTodayNews.blogspot.com.
Yes, there was a link for Project Zephyr and Project Pogo and transcripts of David Goldberg's secret phone recordings Part 1, classified documents David Goldberg and future disclosure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. More details on Project Pogo, Zephyr, and the AI.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I'm looking at that right now. But see, that just leads back. Oh. Actually, that leads back to a blank page. Sorry, this page you were looking for is no longer. So it's kind of like even they might have gotten duped and were like, oh, we shouldn't have reported this. We shouldn't have moved too far. That type of thing I see happen a lot, where it's kind of like it's the old trick where you kind of post something on Facebook and then you later realize that it's not true, so you take it down, which is what you should do. Just
exactly.
Take it down. But if the whole thing is based on that, it's kind of like the whole Trump thing, where all these things, these trumped up charges against Donald Trump, are just based on nothing. And so it just leads nowhere. But at that point, it's kind of like, well, you can't go backwards. And, these sites get so many hits that they need for money to keep their thing going. So that's how they get more hits. The more clicks that they get, the more money that they make, etc., etc. So to take down this stuff is not going to help them. So it's good that we're seeing some of these things being taken down. But it's just and I don't know. I do feel like somebody did contact me way back in June, because some of the stuff especially when I was listening to this guy Tom, and I was listening to some of the videos, because after David Goldberg dies, then right after the 95K view video of David Goldberg's, after his final words, then the next one is titled David Goldberg's Secret Phone Recordings Part 1. It's 17 minutes, and it does have a lot with this guy named Tom. And he stuck out to me for a couple reasons. Then, every other video that's been made since then is with this Tom guy. So, I don't know. It's just, it's some interesting stuff, but what I would like for this Tom guy to actually do is to help us get some factual data.
What does this trail lead?
Yes. Give us, help us find out, where did David Goldberg die? Where was he living? Give us an address. Give us a precinct. Give us a case number. Do you have a case number? Have you looked at any of these documents? Have you tried to get any of these documents, or are you just making videos as his friend?
And they have a Netanyahu.
Are their videos monetized?
Very good question. I don't know.
Making those kind of hits, you have to think about that.
I mean, the last ones are only, like the last 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6. The last 6 videos are all under like 6K. It's not that many, but I mean, for just a couple days, like the most recent one, 29 minutes, got 2,300 views in 3 days. Those look like raw views, like regular views, So it's like, are they just building a following to something? These videos that you guys are putting out, put out David Goldberg stuff. Put out some more of these phone stuff. Put out some of his stuff. I don't really need to hear from this guy named Tom. I need to see what the documents are. I need to see why Tom, has helped us get these documents. Get some factual data. Let's find out where David Goldberg was staying at. Let's just find out.
What's the cover to the document?
Something. Anything.
She-Wolf is asking you to pull up it's KNOW News Now.
Okay.
The graphics are very similar to the David Goldberg graphics.
Is it a YouTube? Oh, okay, it's a YouTube channel. Let me go back. Yeah, this is actually this is one of the channels that they subscribe to. So David Goldberg had subscribed to this channel, or after his death, this was a channel that was subscribed to. Okay, so we're looking at this. I'm assuming he's probably got a video going back to when this happened. But yeah, oh, okay, I see. Yeah, it is kind of the same stuff. It's kind of the same, heck, guy looks like Mason Hendricks.
You have it pulled up?
Yeah.
I can't see it.
You'll see it here in a couple seconds. If you're on YouTube, you'll see it here in a few seconds.
Okay.
Alright, so let's see. Impeachment. Like, wow, yeah, this all just looks like. This just looks like Shill and Troll Central. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back and see. And this is one of the channels that he was subscribed to. Just gonna try to pull that up. That YouTube channel.
Okay.
Friends of David Goldberg. And I can see. Yep,
You're right,
there's.
It does look like Nathan Hendricks.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Wait,
no
what?
more news
God
on the right sound.
Chosen supremacists? Wow.
So under the Friends of
People-
David Goldberg YouTube channel, he has two featured channels. One is No More News, and the other is True News.
Oh, that makes sense now, after looking at this stuff. Ugh, I'm gonna need a shower after looking at this channel.
You feel dirty?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's
Man.
it's. Yeah, I don't know. That's just it just all looks like a bunch of just nothing, basically.
World War III, Iran, and
Yeah. God's chosen supremacists,
by-
really.
oh,
Yeah. But everything is Jew. It's the whole thing. It's a key word there. The supremacist mindset. Yeah. I don't know.
it's a very. This is a site that the Jews would mark as. We would recommend that. If
Wow.
you're.
I would say there are nothing news. I don't know about no more news. Or no more news if they would just stop existing and be no more news. That would be great.
Exactly.
It just make the world a better place.
You probably would.
That's not going to be a site I'd be visiting.
Yeah, that might be a message from God. Dude, just no more news. Just
Now, true news. Let's
true
see
news.
what
Yeah,
they say.
true news is even worse.
True news now.
Yeah, this is the truth. This is it. This is all you need to know here. You know, we got the truth here. It's like if you have to put true in front of it, there's probably a
You know
reason.
something's up.
Yeah, it's probably not true.
Especially when you can't put the E with it.
Right. It's like when they say it's all
does that mean?
natural. It's all natural with natural flavors that aren't natural. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's fine. Yeah. It's not quite organic, just as good.
Totally reckless. Underwritten. Okay.
It's like a narcissist. All of this is just like a narcissist circle jerk or something.
This is actually what I see the Friends of David Crowley doing.
Right? I mean,
Is
that's
something like this.
yeah. I really think a lot of that is why it stuck out to me. It's just like there's a lot of just weird, similar pattern program things that are going on here. It's like they kind of took that program and just tweaked it, you know?
And it's a disinformation campaign.
Correct.
I find anti-type Jewish type stuff coming up more and more.
Why do you think that is?
I'm sure they're going to say Trump has commandeered the United States and we're now a part of Israel. And we have to get a code that we're now part of the Israeli second state. Report to your local synagogue. All right. This was worse than I thought.
Uh-huh.
It really was.
You know,
Ugh.
my daughter's godparent or godmother is Jewish, and this is completely offensive to me. I'm sorry.
It is to me too. I mean, believe me, because I'm not, I need to put this right. I love Judaism. I love the Jews. And salvation came by the Jews. And I have somebody on my line that I'm going to have to, on Facebook, that's going totally, I hate to say it, ape over the Jews. Are doing it all. They're doing all the evil. They were part of this and that in World War II. And it's getting to the point where I'm going, stop it. You're offending me. And
it's very low IQ thinking to blame
yes.
one race or one religion for everything that's gone wrong.
And just because the Jews are rich in banking, oh, it's all them that control it. They're trying to kill us. No, they're not. They're working and doing as well as they can, like everybody else. Now, are there some that are in there probably doing that? Oh, okay, you might find a few that are in that mindset, but you can't put a broad brush and say all Jews are this. When you do that, that's wrong. It's just wrong. And I've known a lot of Jews in high positions in different places, and no, that's not their mindset at all. Are there some out there? Even some Jews say, yeah, there's some that want to do it that way, but they're not. They're not generally very successful at doing those things. And I married into a Jewish family. They were actually Lindberghs, was what their name was. And they changed it. Every Jew does this. Many of them, not all of them, changed their last name to Lind instead of Lindbergh, because they didn't want to be known as Jews, because of the very mentality that you were talking about, Sophia. It's all the Jews. And and I had a father who was an erring father, who birthed me, and so it's one of those things that you just go, well, okay. And when my son, he was looking up his, taking his DNA test, and said, maybe you don't want to do that. And he said, Dad, I've got Jewish blood. I go, no kidding. Wow. Amazing, isn't it? And I said, guess what? Your mother is, Jewish, and part. And he used to say when I got dressed, Dad, you look Jewish now. I go, huh, what amazing. I don't know why that is. Now he goes, oh, I said, yeah, your mother was. That makes, yeah, you're Jewish. So he's been stunned ever since he found that out. He thought he was a typical white American. And I thought, I wish I hadn't have told him what I did. But sometimes it's better not to know you're Jewish.
Well, I kind of thought that too, because we grew up, we never talked about that. We never worried about race. We never worried about who's Jewish. We never worried about any of that. I grew up with like white people, and
and you don't say, oh, they're Jewish, or they Mexican, or they British, right. You didn't sit there and go who they are.
No.
You just say you're my friend, whoever they are.
That's it. They're either a good person or they're not.
Yeah.
That's it.
And my mom was that way. She was very particular about who she associated with and all this kind of stuff. And I felt uncomfortable with that. And my mother grew up with money, and so you and she told me one time, we don't associate with those types. And I was going, what are you talking about? Those types? Who are the types? What are you talking about? And I don't know, but I think people with money sometimes, some of them, not all of them, have this attitude that they're something that they're not. And my mother ran in, and Dad ran in, crowds that my dad felt uncomfortable with. he considered himself just what he considered an average person. And my mom, though, she ran with all kinds of elites. I'll just leave it at that. And they were trying to pull her up, so to speak, and giving her business plans and things to do to. And I'm glad that they didn't. They wanted to make her a billionaire because of her attitude. And I thought, oh no, don't do that. And my mom said, she finally said, nah, I'm not going to do that. And she was headed a direction that would have been notoriety and a socialite type thing. And I thought, oh my gosh, would have been bad news. I wouldn't have liked it. I would have disappeared.
Well, I also want to thank everybody who's in our comment section right now. I want to make sure that we recognize all the people that are in our live YouTube comment section right now. So I want to just thank everybody there, and there's a lot of good discussions going on there. She-Wolf is saying, No News Now is worse than David Goldberg. I think David Goldberg is just an extension of No News Now.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It might have worked for them. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. It could be the same people just disguising their voices.
And it could be them just trying to draw new people in.
Yeah.
It could be the whole thing is nothing but that. Which then Sophie would want to beat me. But
it definitely worked because I was drawn in. Didn't
I was, and normally I would have dropped this as junk real quick. And generally I do it. I think next time I run across something like this, I'm going to remember this experience.
Yeah, but but these things need to be talked about too, because if we don't, and if we don't try to expose these things, they're just going to think that they can keep doing it. So no, these are the things that I really love to catch, because with the David Crowley thing, I was concerned that was a hoax too, that he was using this to gain publicity, blah blah blah. There's no bodies. They're mannequins. Things like that was just okay. But at least we were able to get some documentation, to get something on it. With this one, it's just like
this smells like a hoax to me. I just smell a dog in this one. But Sophia mentioned some things that it could be that intrigued me. I thought, well, okay, maybe that. But then it ties to No News and True News right there. And I'm going, and that's the only two. And they're both the same thing as what we have with his stuff. And I don't know how much. I'm going to look at it some more. I'm going to the Igor Dovlatov is the one I'm going to kind of look at, and it seemed like Danielle's looked at it and considers it a fake whistleblower thing. This has so many layers to it; it's ridiculous. Just in the little bit we've touched, and it's almost out of bounds. It makes me wonder, how do I progress with this? This is
it's like they really tried to do the whole, Trump is a Zionist, he's a Jew, he's this, he's that, and they just really didn't do a very good job. It's like watching a B movie, And
it's overkill. Mr. Goldberg is so over the top. It seems real, but then he blows it he's not a good actor. Definitely. And constantly saying, I could be killed, I'm going to be killed. And of course he dies. All convenient, it works out. He does know he was going to die, and he dies. And his friends take over. And the friends who remain anonymous, just like Mr. Goldberg, in my opinion, all point to a setup of some type.
And go ahead.
Yes, no, fine, go ahead.
I was going to say, the whole purpose, the reason why I wanted to do this video, to have us on, is to get people's views. I want to get real people's views. We have people in our chat room now, real people. I want to know what you guys think about this case.
I hope they think like me. This is junk.
Nobody thinks like you. I'm sorry, my friend.
Oh, I know. I'm quite different.
I'm just kidding. I was just messing with you. But no, but I mean, that's really the whole point, is because, I want to hear what other people think here. And I think both of you have really made some very good points and have really helped me think that, man, I would love to think that this wasn't a hoax, but all signs point to yes. So how does everybody else in our chat room feel? And remember, I've only been looking at this for 1 day, 2 days. Yep. So I'm not going to be like certain police departments and just think that I have it all figured out within 24 hours. Yeah. I'm not going to do that.
But the one thing that's interesting, it was talking about when the EMTs got there, there was a group of cops and other law enforcement he couldn't identify, he thought were detectives, and the neighbor was ushered out. Okay, that doesn't sound real.
Right.
Neighbor ushered out and asked questions by the cop. And police tape was placed around the apartment. I see that there's a problem with that chronology there. Do y'all see that?
Yeah.
There's a problem. They're in there. There's a bunch of police now. There's no police tape up. He's ushered out, and police tape was placed around the apartment. That doesn't make sense. When police first get there, they tape off an area of a murder scene immediately to keep everybody out. And that does not make sense. At least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Seems like it's out of touch and not really how police do their work. When they get there, they immediately secure a scene. That's their first job. And he's talking about people he couldn't identify. He was there thinking they're detectives. And the neighbor, who was the neighbor, what's he talking about, was quickly ushered out. Sounds like another over-the-top event to convince us.
Tell the story.
Yeah, it does. A poorly written one. Not written to convince us of anything.
So, Sophia, what do you think?
Oh, to me, in my opinion, I think that this is a hoax.
Are you 100%?
Yes, I am. Unless I see real information to change my mind, in my opinion, this is a hoax.
And I'm
99%. Okay, Walter, you are too?
I'm close to where she is at this point. It almost makes me regret bringing it. Is how I'm feeling right now.
And see, but that's what they want too. They want you to be like, well, unless I can vet it, unless I can look at it, I'm not gonna spread it. But this kind of shows that there are people that are purposely out there spreading false stories, that like to spread false things, that don't care, that don't research, that just want hits, that just want views, just want clicks.
Yep.
Because that's how they make money.
It's disinformation at its best, kind of.
Right.
If you could call it that. It was a good book.
There's gonna have to be real information, like a police report. There's gonna have to be a death certificate, an obituary, like a legit one, not something that can be made online by anybody.
Yeah.
Well, shouldn't that be the first thing? Shouldn't that be the first thing that they do?
Report.
Right? I mean, was there a funeral? Was there a memorial service? Was he married?
They have kids? Yeah.
Yeah, who was his family? Who were these friends?
Does he have a mother, a father? Was he born from a virgin child? We don't know.
I can truly understand him using an alias if he had information that could get him in trouble. And I truly can understand that. But this is elaborate. But when you scratch it, you get to these dead ends pretty quickly. And I'm pretty over it really by now. I'm just over it.
Well, that was the other thing. Yeah, I mean, we don't need to spend that much time on it, right? We're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I do think it's good to get this out there and to kind of help other people who haven't seen this yet to kind of see, okay, yeah, there's something really, really odd here. But also, I mean, on a deeper level, this gives us a glimpse into what we are fighting, into what they will do, how far they will go in order to just spread these false stories and these hoaxes and things like that. And once again, if anybody wants to come here and prove that this isn't a hoax, I'll gladly have you on. Uncensored, you can say whatever you want, do whatever you want. If this guy Tom wants to come on, and I will send this video to them. I'll send this video to the friends of David Goldberg, because from what I hear, this guy Tom is willing to answer any questions. So we're gonna take him at his word, and we want to know. And I want to know. Yeah, I mean, I'll let you guys all speak for yourself. I don't want to speak for either of you or for anybody in our chat room, but I want to know, how do we get some documents? How do we get some facts here to show that this isn't a hoax? I want Tom and these people and the friends to help us prove that this isn't a hoax. How are they going to do that? So I challenge them for that.
Yeah, and not more just a draw to get them to go to No News and True News, if that is. And what's interesting, it would be good to see who started True News and No News. Is there a David Goldberg tied to that? It's this
Alex Jones? Probably Alex Jones. Don't worry. It's all him.
Oh boy, it's in.
Design it. Don't worry.
This is just one of the most interesting things I've run across that I've wasted my time with, and y'all's time with.
Well, we have people who claim that David is guilty and stuff, David Crowley, and that we believe every conspiracy theory that we come across and stuff. And that's absolutely not true.
Oh, no.
We don't believe every conspiracy theory. I mean, we looked into this, to the David Goldberg thing, and there was no teeth to that whatsoever.
Nope. You can use this as a flag for that.
And I tend to vet things before I jump into it. And that was, like, there was another case that we were looking into, another author who died and stuff. And there's just so many red flags going up in that one that I had to walk away. I just couldn't anymore. And it's just, several people are still looking into it, so I can't really go into details.
Right. And with this, just listening to what I did on the videos had me going, no. But what he was saying was intriguing, and I thought, well, the Jews are going to get me. Really? Yeah. Okay. And then, and with all the stuff that he was saying about that, the thing is, I thought, and unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your point of view, I thought of Greg. And I thought, yeah, let me toss this to Greg, and I'll see where this goes. And in my mind, I was going, oh, I know this is not going to go anywhere. I happen to be proved correct. And I will just, next time I'm going to discuss it and be a little more in your face saying, I don't think this is anything. But take a look at this bogus crap. And yes, we do have to get information out there. And one of the things I think is that they're going to try to spread more of this out. And it might be good to identify it as crap. That I do agree with you, Greg. Totally. Still there, Greg?
Yeah.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, just show us the paperwork and stuff.
Yes.
Give us the file number. We'll send out the FOIAs and get the information from the police and from the ME. We'll do it. We'll do that legwork for you guys, friends of David Goldberg. We'll do it for you if you're not willing to do it. Just give us the case number and the dates.
And his address?
That's important. Yeah, the address. Because, you have to add that in there so that they can pull up the right person.
Yep.
But
you gave his full name. Spell that out.
Yeah,
We have the address. We can find out where that precinct is, and that'll narrow down our search. It's
important. But I'm kind of feeling that these people are not going to be in contact. This might be a one-person operation.
I don't know. I got the feeling after listening to the very first video that Greg had up.
Yeah.
It was like a bad nanny episode with the accents and everything. It was so over the top. And I felt like I was just watching The Nanny again with Fran Drescher. And,
yeah. I remember that show.
I remember that show. Oh, yeah, I do remember that show. I used to watch it, believe it or not.
Yeah, that was a good show.
I liked it.
But you know what I'm talking about with the accents and everything.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. What are we listening to here?
And it seemed to change even through the sentence and through his enunciation and diction. It's like he was having a hard time maintaining that, and he was trying to make an accent that he couldn't hold.
And, and then it's like the David Goldberg character changes from video to video, too. It's like, wait a minute, who was I listening to just then? Because we have somebody else now playing that role.
So this I want to keep looking at the sites and watching and see to see if they put any more videos up and who's running that. There's something behind this, and there's a reason they're doing this. And
Tom, whoever this guy is, Tom, it sounds like that's the guy that we want to have on here.
Oh yeah.
Answer questions, to help us out, man. We're trying to understand where you guys are coming from. We really are, but you're not giving us anything.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if it was a bunch of Jews just trying to find out how many anti-Semitics are out there. Although there might be somebody who's that deranged that in the Jewish sector says, I'm going to see and test the waters, Not that I think that is true, but the thought does pass through my mind. And which I don't like the thought that anybody in the Jewish sector would do this. Of course, David Goldberg says, well, I'm a Jew, and but he didn't sound Jewish. In my opinion, sounded Russian. I don't know what y'all thought about it. Who is this?
Yeah, there was a little Russian in there. Russian in there.
Yeah. Maybe the Democrats are trying to bring this Russian collusion together, and they're using this as a last ditch effort.
Maybe that's who it's meant for. I don't know who David Goldberg's target audience was.
Neither do I. It certainly wasn't the
Jews. Yeah, we got that figured out.
We got that pretty straight.
You got a good point there. But did he have a target audience?
Who was he targeting? It seems like he was targeting all Americans who are truth seekers. That I got out of it. That's what came out. And that was interesting. That was the intriguing part to me. Oh, there's going to be a Jewish plan to identify all the truth seekers who know about Zionism so you can eliminate them all at once. Oh, wow. Sounds like a plan. Oh. I think some lonely person in New York came up with this and had to give them something to do.
Well,
what
I think
did
there
they
was
do?
something. Now, I could be wrong, but I think there was something that happened in New York in 2001. I could be wrong. My memory might escape me. But
Yes,
I think there was a big event.
Oh yeah, and some people said the Jews did that.
Right.
And I go,
Right.
It was an inside job. It's more like the, you know what I think on that one, Greg. And I think that was an inside job that was not very well done. And then, when you have free fall buildings, no, that didn't come down from the planes. Neither did Building 7, and it was all obvious to me. I was going, oh my gosh! And when I looked at the videos, I thought, no. And I saw blasts, and I heard that there was thermite in there, and I know about thermite. I dealt with it in the military, and I go, whoa! That building was taken out by military sources, in my opinion. Not pointing at any particular military, but who knows? But now this David Goldberg is interesting in the fact that they give just the name, his age, and in New York. It doesn't say New York City, which is what I would think. And like I said, this generic site makes it all generic to the point where, as Sophia, myself, and you couldn't find one bit about him at all. So again, my question is, why? Except for getting true news and no news on the map, okay? About the same thing that he had on his site. And unless it was like code for something else somewhere else to bring secret agents to the site to get data. I find this almost funny, especially with his accents and the way he was acting and the way Sophia says different actors playing the part, sounding different. I don't know what to make of this right now. I really don't. But it's interesting. Need to get more information.
Now, She-Wolf found a Goldberg that died from East Hampton, New York in 1997. But she said that she was not able to find anything in 2019, that there was still one David Goldberg in New York, in Brooklyn, but she's looking at Find a Grave website, and there was none that died in 2019. And
Might
let's
check
see here.
2018.
No, it's not the same David though.
Okay. Not 59. Huh.
But he has a legit Jewish tombstone. Oh wow, it's in Hebrew. It's beautiful, actually. I think Greg wanted me to put it up.
Yeah.
I'm not. Can I send it to you? Because I'm not connected to that. Let me see here. I'm going to send you two different things, Greg. I think that's all that she sent me. But the headstone was just gorgeous. And it's a legit Jewish headstone.
So it's basically showing that there's no one named David Goldberg that died in Brooklyn, in Kings County, in 2009, in New York, in the whole state of New York.
Wow.
I mean, how are we gonna have to narrow down this search? But based on that,
could it be 2018? Are they saying this was 2019 directly?
2019.
Yeah. Electorate before his death, 6/8/19. Okay,
well,
I was just
okay. All right, so at least we got the county. So Kings County. Go from there, and we can just figure out if anyone with that name died in 2019. I think that's a great way to start.
Man. And there was none in New York for 2019 named Goldberg who died. Did I understand that correctly?
With his correct name. There was nobody with that with his name.
Well, I'm gonna get up tomorrow morning and start looking up David Goldberg and Igor and start traipsing around and looking at their sites. That'll be good. Okay. Well, we spent 3 hours spinning our wheels and dug a good hole with that. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I should say I'm sorry. This was one of those things that now as I look back on it, even though Greg wanted it, okay, I was thinking, I was still 50-50. Now that I look at this and all that we've been through, I go, oh, okay, this was a dead end. But I still, in the back of my mind, though, I think, there's something to this, though. That's what I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going, what? Is this simply just to get people to spin their wheels, or is there something else behind it? And I had this draw to look at it further, but I don't want to do that because I'm afraid I'm going to find exactly what I'm thinking. It'll be just worthless work and a dead end. Anyway, I'm going to wish you both a good night, and with apologies, and with apologies to you, Greg, and you, Sophia, that it didn't turn up anything.
No, that's good. Yeah, there's nothing to apologize for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just looking at this. So we're just looking to see what is true, what is not true, what is fact, what is not fact. Like, this is what people need to do. This is how you work through it.
Yeah.
You don't just take it for granted. You don't just say yes. You don't just say no. You gotta look at it from all different sides. Try to find some credible people, some trustworthy people, and
I hope we can find somebody with this. I'd like to find the person who put it out there.
Right.
That's what I want. I want to say, and then get them and go, why did you do this? What's the point? And one thing that stands out is exposing the gatekeepers who constitute most of the alternative media,
right?
Like InfoWars. I'm going, so this is something that is made to counter truth media, alternative media, And I don't think all of it is bad. I tend to take it one at a time, though, and want to check them out. Because I did not like InfoWars. Sorry, Greg, nothing against you. I was one of those that was going, I don't like, it's just too over the top for me. And I realize there are, quote unquote, those who are, quote, gatekeepers, and they say that who constitute most of the alternative media. So I think this is the focus right there.
Yep.
That right there. And tying that to the two sites that are there, because maybe those two sites are gatekeeper sites. That what they're exposing is what they are.
Okay.
Because that would be something to draw people into with all their videos or doing this. And they're keeping account and getting who they're bringing in and making a list and checking it twice.
Well, I mean, we also have to, God is working through this. This is all part of God's plan, so He's moving these people to make these fake stories, to do whatever, to help expose lies versus truth. But,
yes,
so we can't just focus on what they're doing. And I know that you're not. I know a lot of us, we're focused on what Jesus Christ is doing for us, on what God is doing for us and what He's leading us to. And He's led us to look at this case. It's not to say you need to solve this case. He's showing us things. We just need to just take that.
We just got to see where the trail leads in.
That's it. Well, it all leads back to the same place, right?
Yes,
it all leads back to Him. That's basically it.
This was, like I said, this was strange when I saw this, and I felt I had to give it to you. Why, I don't know. but anyway, with that, this is Walter Bradley saying good night, and it was this is a great completion of your day. Sorry, Greg. After all you've been through. Guess it's the exclamation point at the end. All right. Sophia, it was nice having you here.
It was nice talking with you and working this case out.
Or lack of something.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, and I wish y'all both a good night. Y'all take care and sleep well. And we'll come back again, and next time I'll have something relative.
It's all good. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Walter.
Have a good night.
Hello everyone, this is David Goldberg again. If you've been paying attention to my channel, if you've been listening to what's going on, you know that I was poisoned. I had arsenic poisoning about 2 weeks ago. I'm doing much better, but they seem to be very nervous about what I'm revealing on my channel. We have inside information. We have secret information that no one knows. First of all, Donald Trump converted to Judaism 2 years ago. Secondly, Donald Trump believes that Jared Kushner is the Mashiach or the Messiah, the Jewish Messiah. No one knows this information. Beyond that, we are learning more and more about what's going on in the White House because of the person who I've been communicating with who worked there, Isabel. Unfortunately, Isabel has been fired. They figured it out. They found out that she was talking to me. We've been getting a hold of news agencies. They won't talk to us. I know a lot of people. I know people at CNN. I know people at the New York Times. I know people at the New Yorker. I know people at the New York Post. I've been talking to them, communicating with them. A lot of them are really good people. And I've known them for 25 years. But now they won't publish this information. There's something going on, and I'm starting to question my own people. I'm starting to question the Jews and the Zionists in the White House. They are not working for an agenda that I can be a part of anymore. And I'm very concerned. Now, I have Isabel on the phone. Isabel, are you there?
Hi, David. Yeah, I'm here.
Good. I can hear you pretty well. I think this is going to be okay. Isabel, it's true that you were fired last week. That is correct.
Unfortunately, that is the case, yes.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
I'm not happy. It's lit a fire under my ass, though. You know, it really makes me want to get this information out all the more. I really feel that I did the right thing. And it just angered people.
Well, clearly they're upset with you. They're not happy with what you did. You revealed a lot of very, very sensitive information about Trump and Kushner and what's going on. What I can't believe as a Jew, I'm very proud of all of this. I was very happy to hear that Trump converted to Judaism, but it's becoming clear they don't want this information out. Is that your assessment?
Well, if you are proud to be a Jew, I don't want you to be a Jew. Am I wrong?
Say that again, what?
I mean, if you're not going to be proud to be a Jew, personally, I don't want you to be one of them.
Right.
I mean, am I wrong here?
No, you're not wrong, and I'm very proud, but I'm seeing that my own people are working against us. I feel like people in the White House are not working in our favor. There's some kind of agenda going on. I mean, they just tried to kill me. They just tried to kill me, and they have poisoned me, and they have fired you, and they're blocking SUVs out of my house.
I mean, I've said it before, but I just want to say it again. I'm worried about you, and I'm so sorry that this has happened.
Well, it's a shock to my system. I've been fighting for Jewish issues. I've been fighting against anti-Semitism my entire life. I know a lot of wonderful Jews here in New York, but now I'm seeing a different side of things. They want to shut me up. The people in the press won't talk to me, and they won't publish the story anymore. I've been able to get stories published for 25 years. And now this happens, and everyone goes silent, and then they fire you, and our channel is being attacked by anti-Semites. There's something very strange going on. The White House doesn't want this information out.
This is terrible.
Well, it is very terrible, yes. Isabel, thank you for joining me. I know you're under a lot of stress. Is there anything else you want to add? Is there anything else? What did they say to you when they fired you?
Well, they said that they knew what I was up to. You know, they said that I had signed non-disclosure agreements. I had broken that contract. I would be lucky if I wasn't sued.
Right.
You know, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. I did sign NDA. I did.
That's true.
But this needs to be known.
It does need to be known. I'm not surprised that eventually this might happen, but I'm so disappointed in the White House. Why do they want to cover up that Trump is a Jew? Why do they want to cover up that Trump thinks
He should be proud of
is the Messiah?
No, but it's like we discussed before.
Why are they covering it up?
He wants to be reelected.
He wants to be reelected. They must feel this is going to hurt him. This is going to hurt him so bad they don't want the information out. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Isabel, thank you for joining me. For anybody else listening, please, I need to support. We need to get the information out. Donald Trump is a Jew. Donald Trump believes Kushner is the Messiah, and there's all kinds of other things going on. Thank you for joining me. We'll get up another video soon. Adam Green, listen to me. I'm making phone calls to my Jewish friends in New York. I'm making phone calls to my friends in the media. I'm making phone calls to my friends at many top Jewish organizations, and I'm going to tell, I am telling them about you, and I'm going to continue to tell them about you, and we are going to shut you down. Unless you shut yourself down. Adam Green, shut it down. Shut it all down. Close your YouTube channel if you know what's good for you. Because you are spewing hatred toward the Jews by stating facts and then making criticisms, and that is illegal. Everyone knows that criticizing Jews is anti-Semitic and it is illegal and is hate speech. Why don't you know that? Why are you even allowed to exist? You little cockroach. You anti-Semitic goy cockroach. You have no right to say what you're saying about the Jews. And you're making a lot of good points, and you're making valid arguments, and you're using video and evidence and facts to back up what you're saying, and it's reaching people, and we cannot have that. We have to shut it down. So I'm calling you out. I'm letting you know I'm aware of you. I know what you're up to. We see what you're doing, and it is making too much noise, and it's making too much sense to the Gentiles. You're reaching white people. You're reaching black people and Latinos and Asians and Americans, and you're making sense, and they're starting to put the puzzle pieces together. They're starting to connect the dots, and that's hate speech. That's anti-Semitism. You're criticizing Jewish people. That is hate speech. Don't you see what's going on in Congress? Don't you see what Donald Trump is doing? They're passing laws. It's going to be illegal, you clown. All of you. It's going to be illegal